Okay, 7:01, we'll call the April 17th, 2024 Barnes County North School Board meeting to order. And we'll start with, we want to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Curry, we had a couple things we will need to add to the agenda.
Yes. N, sale of bus, and O, tuition agreement.
Okay. Anything else? Not, we would need a motion to approve amended agenda.
A motion to approve agenda by Jen.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric? All in favor of approval of the amended agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. We'll move to consent agenda, which covers our minutes, bills, and financial reports. If there's any questions, comments, or anything on those. Any questions? Hearing none, we entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, Jen. I'll second.
Second by Cindy. Any other discussion? Not roll call, Lindsay.
Eric,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Roll to patron forum, nothing, Mr. Curry?
Nope.
Reports, we'll start with you, superintendent report.
Before we get our kids up here to do their presentation, just real quick, talk about the cognitive report. That was last week in our exit interview with our evaluators. They had many positive things to say about our school district. We won't get our formal report back for a little bit of time yet for that, but everything, that came from them was very positive. There's always recommendations, but as I stated, the recommendations that they made are things that we're already working on in ours with our updated strategic plan. So it's nothing that we didn't know, really probably even going into that. So no, it's nice to be done. They said the reports were very positive, and we just continue to keep working on getting better. So unless there's any questions, we'll get to the important part of my presentation.
Any questions? Okay.
All right, kids, students, show them what you got.
Love it.
You're nervous.
Don't be.
They will be great. Come on up, guys. Okay, so in sixth grade, we have our into reading, and our first, they have the My Book, we have the Teaching Pal as the teachers, and we got to this page of On a Journey, and it talks about people going on a journey and a destination and all that good jazz. So then we read about what like metropolitan means, if we go on a craft, if we go passage, and then we read all of that good stuff, and then we went to Traveler's Tales, and we talked about Sakakawea and a whole bunch of history, and we got all the good jazz in. So I took it upon the kids because we learned Minecraft for our PD, and the kids love it. I had one in the classroom that has never used it before. I don't know how to do it. Absolutely loves it now. And I controlled it. I learned how to do that by using rubrics, and this is how you do it, kids. You have boundaries. And if we don't do the boundaries, they learn that we take it away. And that's not fun, but we give it back. So we did 3 big Minecraft presentations, and that's what we're gonna share with you today. So
Okay,
our
good.
first one is on journeys, on a journey. So Gage went on a journey, and he's gonna show you his journey that he wanted to go on. They got to pick, and everything on the pink rubric is what I expected out of them. And Gage did everything, so come on up, Gage.
Mindy, can I add just one thing?
Yes.
So some of you may be familiar with Minecraft because your kids play it at home, so you're probably thinking to yourself, like, right now, game, right? Game in school, how can you learn from games in school? So this, what they've learned is Minecraft for education, so it is a little bit different from the regular Minecraft. And then I guess I'll let him take away the rest, that it's not that it does have an educational focus to it.
And you also got to see a glimpse of our new curriculum that we
Yes.
discussed, right?
I absolutely love it.
And that's been the consensus, a lot of teachers in discussions with.
So, I drove, my trip is to Sydney, Australia. First I stopped at Mall of America. We got a little ride here. Then I drove to Lambeau Field in Wisconsin. We got players and then fans. Then I drove to an airport, got on the plane, and then flew to Sydney, Australia. Here you got the Opera House. And you have people. Then you have a bridge. And then you have an apartment. You have people watching TV. An empty room. And then another room.
The cool part about this is when I said you could pick any destination possible, they had to go research. How am I gonna get there? What's going on? All this stuff. So Gage had to research, oh, I can, fly out of, where did you go, Wisconsin? No, Wisconsin?
I went to Chicago.
Oh, Chicago, okay. So they had to do all that research before they even got to go on Education Minecraft. So that was a cool part.
Map here.
Why did you pick Australia, Gage?
Cause it looks like a really fun place to visit.
And you said the Opera House, was there a specific bridge that you came across when you were researching Australia?
I just know there's a bridge that goes like over part of the ocean.
Okay, so that, you're representing that there. Oh, there's an airplane too.
And when you built this was a blank slate,
Yeah.
like nothing. You built all of this. You created all of this.
And it says, yes, they had to use a flat world.
Yep.
Yep, so that was like the basic thing that they had to use. Nothing created before, go for it. And I just let them go.
What was
After
one of your
you.
biggest challenges?
Probably getting enough room for the ocean right here. Took a while.
Because it's block by block, right?
Yeah.
Minecraft, you block. Yeah. Very cool. Very neat.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Then I took it one step forward, and we learn about the Dirty 30s in our very first novel, and Roll Under Hear My Car, and the kids really learn about segregation and how the Negro families really learned how hard it was down in the South for them. So we read this, and then we read Freedom Walkers, and this is from our Journeys series, but the kids love this. It's nonfiction. We really get into segregation in the South and what it can do for us now, how we can learn from it and everything. Well, the next page is the blue page. That's the rubric for, they had to create a segregated bus. And they had to have buildings around it. We learned about all the people that were affected down south and the bus the Montgomery bus boycott. So Olivia is going to show you her creation.
Okay, so it starts at the bus stop. This is the black section, and this is the white section. When the blacks got on, they had to go to the front of the bus, put their money in the fare box, and then they had to go out into the back. So this is my black section on the bus, and this is my white section. Over here is the Montgomery Fair store, where they made clothes and sold them. Rosa Parks worked here, and they sewed the clothes up on the top floor. So this is where they sewed.
Did it break?
Chairs just lift in there a little bit. Give just a second. If it doesn't come back, we can just quickly go back out of it.
And in the back here is Rosa Parks. So that's it.
Nice.
So then after we read Freedom Walkers, we also read The Watsons Go to Birmingham in 1963. And if you've never read this, this is a wonderful book. It teaches about a cocky teenager learning what life's all about, basically. And the kids seem to really take to this book. They live up in Flint, Michigan. It is a black family that the parents are from the South. So they decide to take the teenager down to Grandma Sands in Birmingham to teach him a lesson. And they find out that it's not like Flint, Michigan down there. So they take a thing, their brown bomber car that they, it's on the front, maybe, yep, right here. So I had the kids make their own brown bomber, and that is the green sheet. So they needed a car, they needed a steering wheel, because that's important in a car, seats, door, Ultra Glide. Now that was like the coolest thing to have, is a record player. So we have a record player in our classroom. I show them all that. We go over all the parts of it, we play it, and they're like, it doesn't sound like our music. No, it's not, it's staticky, everything. So they kind of get that real feeling of, wow, this is what they drove across country with. So Carter now is going to show you his brown bomber.
So for my Watsons Go to Birmingham, I built a car, and this was probably the toughest one to build because you have to make it flat and also looks like a car. I have my steering wheel, I have the Ultra Glide that can play music.
I would actually put this in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then if you walk out, I have the family out of the car. We have the dad, we have the mom, we have Kenny, which is the middle child, we have Joey, which is the youngest, and we have Byron, who is the cocky teenager. And then you make your way inside, and you have a table and two beds inside.
What building is that, Carter?
Their house.
Their house, okay.
Because they needed buildings
Yeah,
corresponding.
relevant, around, related to it, the card.
And since they're like a black family in 30s, then it kind of not the best house, but. So
It's a rental, isn't it?
yeah.
Well, with no heat. They find that out in Flint, Michigan. Yep.
So what did you learn from reading the text and doing the project with it? What was your
What-
biggest aha?
Like what life was back then for the blacks and how they didn't have it as good as whites and stuff.
What type of music would you be hearing on the slider?
What was Kenny's favorite?
It was yakety yak.
Yakety yak, yeah.
Don't talk back.
Yeah. They listen to that quite a bit, right?
Great
How
job.
would you compare this project to just maybe drawing something or?
Much better and probably easier from not an artist.
Any challenges?
The car and yeah, everything else was simple as that.
How long did it take you to do that?
Probably a week or so.
I thought it would take a lot longer, so I'm like, okay, well, we'll plan. Oh, these kids whipped it, no problem.
So did all three of you do Minecraft before the project?
Yeah, I have a little history of it.
And I didn't show them hardly anything, because I suck at it.
These three
When you're
examples,
supposed to build it, I crash it, or, you know, I do the opposite, and it's like.
One of the things with you guys though is when you play Minecraft at home, you're using controllers.
yes.
Yeah, but the iPad is so much simpler than a controller.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
all the
new.
sixth graders have said that. They like that.
and we
Which
said they
is nice.
couldn't bring their own controllers because everybody is on the same playing field, learning it new. And in sixth grade, connected it to literature they were reading. However, other grade levels have built spelling words,
Oh, we do
3D
that, yeah.
spelling
We do that
words.
too.
Oh, you guys
Yeah.
did that too, out of blocks, and there's other ways, just practicing and reinforcing those skills, not necessarily connecting it to literature. And these three were invited, I haven't talked to all the parents yet, to present at the Ignite conference. Ms. Bitts put in a proposal. It's these three and then 4 fifth graders that would be going to present their different Minecraft learning, right?
Yeah.
At the Ignite conference for educators. So,
Good job.
great job, Carter.
What did you learn, Mindy? Can you show me yours?
What did you say?
Can you show us yours?
How to build a block.
You don't want to see what I did with Charity, and, it was awful. You know, it was make just a simple house. It was like 2 up, and mine didn't have a roof. She goes, it doesn't have a roof, I'm like, I can't get a roof on there. She goes, you have to figure it out. I'm like, I can't, I don't know. I sat there, I was so
The students
dumbfounded.
did a much better job of overcoming the adversity than the teachers.
So
Myself
I-
included.
I worked on it a little bit while they were working on it, and I figured out that you can't build on certain things, like certain materials don't build on other materials. And the kids were telling me that, and I'm like, duh. You know? So, yeah, you need to know that, and I still don't know that. so.
Teachers were trying to plant flowers in brick and not, you have to change it to soil to plant flowers. It was
Yeah, and I think when I was in there and we had kind of came up with this idea, the one student had, built a replica of Lambeau Field?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then
the whole
another one that I
the whole
watched,
land.
it was ice fishing,
Yep.
where you could actually drop the line down the hole and you could catch a fish. It was so cool.
Oh,
And that's
I
kind
think they
of
went to Alaska or something on their
very
trip.
Yep.
cool.
Yeah.
Very
for
cool.
that, and just thought it was, I mean,
Thanks for coming, and we
Yeah.
really
Yes.
appreciate what you could
Great
show
job,
us.
sixth graders.
See you tomorrow.
And thank you,
Good work.
parents, for getting them here.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
thank you. But unfortunately, my report's not always gonna be that entertaining. So that's why I put it
the
under
bar.
my area.
Yeah, I think that could have gone under elementary.
Easy could have, but
JR didn't have anything else secondary or AD other than in there that he gave you today?
nope.
Okay. call roll, Demi?
Was there anything that anybody had questions
Yeah.
on though? There wasn't much about the District 1 AD meeting other than the cost stuff.
Yeah,
I think the last meeting I had asked, what was the feedback on the 3-class system from the local ADs? And I didn't see anything in relation to that in here. This was just about dollars.
yeah, and I think we had talked about it, I think just, I mean, local, I think statewide, I think the feedback has been very positive. Just in a conversation I had yesterday, at a meeting, I think we were talking about it a little bit, and the only negative feedback on it was the sound system in Jamestown for the girls' Class B tournament, for that. But for the most part, and there was an article in the Grand Forks Herald the other day about the 3-class system and how well it, I mean, for the first year rolling out, yeah, there was glitches, of course, like you're gonna get with anything, but I think overall, I think there's more parity now within that, within basketball, and I think you saw that probably within the divisions and within the games that you saw at state and throughout the regular season too, for that.
Do you have anything else, comments or anything?
Thank you.
Bussey Elementary.
The Science Olympiad was a big success, thanks to the teachers, especially Mrs. Tweet. She is taking on the task of planning the regions at our school. Valley City dropped out, so we're kind of in the middle of St. Kate's and Griggs County. I did include the trimester 2 Title I notes this time, so if there's any questions, this is kind of what we go through as a team each trimester, and then we do another one at the end of the year. So we split it up into ELA and math, what's going well, what's not going well. We're focusing on the curriculums because we just adopted a new Into Reading curriculum, and we know that math is coming. They did upgrade Go Math, but it's starting that process again with what's going well and what's not. As you can see, Math Packs is a question that is always brought up in our math data, but our overall math data looks really good. There's lots of upcoming events. I think we have 19 days of school left or something like that, so lots going on the last couple weeks. I forgot to update house points, but our teachers have given, I think the highest before this year was 12,000 house points, and they had that beat previously. And then the April newsletter was included. So there are some professional development opportunities some teachers observed out in Hope Page, and they turned in walkthrough sheets and talked about what they learned, and then they shared some of the things that they saw at EdChat and PLCs with the other teachers. So school-wide Title I reporting webinar. Thankfully, we jumped on board with the new updates last year, so we're already a step ahead with the new reporting requirements. And then that Ignite conference in Bismarck, we've reached out to some students to present. Ms. Spitz submitted a proposal, and I've been in contact with parents about that already. So they would just come down, do the presentation, and then leave. But there are four staff members that I think are enrolled to go. So.
Any
And
questions?
I don't know if it's elementary, high school, or all school or whatever, but I think the BCN Bison Facebook page has had a lot of chatter and a lot of good feed in the last couple months or whatever, for sure. So whoever is responsible, I think there's gotta be at least a couple hands going on there, but
A lot
kudos.
of that is Kim Schwer.
Okay, kudos then, because there's been a lot of cool things, I think, that have
Yeah, she does a
Really
really nice job of keeping.
publicity-wise been good for the school, so kudos.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you. Mrs. Bitts, technology.
I feel like I have a very long update, so I'll try to just summarize, and if you have any questions after you've looked at the document. We finished up our tech plan. The tech committee met on 3 different occasions, I think, and focused on 3 different areas that should have been attached in your updates. We met as a committee, then we went out and shared it with staff. Nothing came back as any inputs from staff, so sharing it with you, and then that will just go on our site, and that will just be a living document, because we reference that in our strategic plan to reference our technology plan. We are making a few changes to our laptop application process. As you know, all kids get iPads in the district unless they apply for a laptop, 9 through 12. I have the opportunity to apply for a laptop, and actually iPads are getting easier and easier probably to use now, since the cases that we have now have trackpads and keyboards, so it almost acts like a laptop, but there are certain things that, say, kids that are taking online courses can't access as easily with an iPad versus a laptop, and as they get into Mrs. McGee's project that she has them do as seniors and stuff, it's a little bit easier to have laptops. So I actually sent that out to our tech committee today. The changes that we made to it is we are going to have students get a letter of recommendation, as, you know, in reference to why this person recommending them thinks they should have a laptop over an iPad. You know, responsibility, use of technology, their education, how they value their education, those sorts of things. So it's gonna have, the kids are gonna have a little more teeth in the game, plus it's teaching them a real experience. Like, I don't just get this application and jot something down and then automatically get it, which we've been pretty loose with in the past. They're gonna have to get that letter, and then we have a rubric that we're gonna go by it as far as accepting those. So Mrs. Bussey talked about the students presenting at Ignite. I just want to verify, put in a proposal on behalf of Mrs. Almond. So I wrote a proposal with her name attached to it. So she is really gonna be a big part in that as well. Mrs. Bussey and myself will be with her. End of the year stuff has been busy. You can see that I included the proposal, the Markle proposal. I've been talking about our Bell and Intercom all year, and putting a lot of work into that and making sure we get what we need. And I tried to get proposals from other companies. One person came in, they found out that Markle had been here and didn't even do a walkthrough. He left. And simply because Markle has a state contract, so nobody's really gonna be able to compete with them. The other person wanted a copy of Markle's quote, and I said, I'm not gonna just give you what they put together, and then she never got back to me. So the two other vendors I tried didn't, and I don't think that they're going to be close to competitive at all. This went to the Buildings and Grounds, I think about a month ago, and I went through every line item on this quote and listed everything that what it is for. Does anybody have any questions on this quote?
We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that, yes.
Oh,
That's on the
okay.
agenda.
Okay. Oh,
I
look,
didn't-
okay.
Did the quote go in the attachment? Did I miss it? Or did anybody else see it?
I don't think the quote.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I didn't see any
There's no
actual
quote.
numbers, so.
No. We've not seen any numbers.
I don't even wanna know the numbers.
Okay, I am so
You're
sorry.
gonna know.
We're gonna hear the
I know.
numbers at some point here, yes.
You will.
Oh my God, maybe I should go make you guys a few quick copies.
Would it, can you throw it up on that?
I can, yeah.
When we get to that.
Yes, yes. Okay, well,
Okay.
Copy, just so I can print it for the packet.
you want a copy too? I can do that.
Just email it, it's fine.
Email, okay. God darn it. Here I thought that the shock wasn't real
No,
bad.
we haven't got the shock yet.
I was too busy creating pivot tables for you instead of trying to send those. and
Putting it in there, she didn't want to put it out to us.
I thought there was intentional behind
Yeah.
not sending the actual
Darn, okay.
number,
Well, the Buildings and Grounds people, they've already got
Yeah.
it, so.
so they can have the shock and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Like I said, I was busy like creating these pivot tables with our equipment and
Yeah.
what year and how many devices we
Yeah.
have, and then Lindsay's like, he can't send that pivot table.
I'm like, and nobody's gonna be able to like actually open that, like sending it as a PDF, I'm sorry.
Anyway, we did get that grant for the new wireless access points. All of those access points are sitting in my office and will be installed next week, reconfigured, so we'll have new wireless throughout the building. And then the other part of the update was just, about putting equipment together, an equipment list. I think I said one out last year of like all of the hardware I could
Yeah.
think of and kind of what my crystal ball was. And I put together some tables as to when we're gonna need to do replacements of things. So, yeah, I will, throw this up when it's time.
Okay, all right. Thanks. No questions for her yet?
Not yet.
Good. Committee reports are next. Do building grounds, budget and finance? You wanna
Yeah,
hit
if you wanna
them
start
here?
with buildings, grounds, and
Okay.
transportations.
Basically, the audio stuff that's coming up. They asked for a floor scrubber to get into tighter spots. Gym floor, they're thinking maybe a week,
Hopefully,
middle of June.
June 17th is the
Yeah.
start date.
Okay.
Yeah.
We looked at options for a fence out here and talked to soil conservation about possibly putting up a hedge row of trees
Shrubs or something.
versus a fence, different costs. General repairs, different options on the fleet going forward, and buses and vehicles, stuff like that, so. You guys have anything?
You covered that pretty well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Budget and finance, who wants to tackle that?
Oh, thanks.
There's a lot of it's gonna come
I
up.
mean,
Jen, what's
the
that?
the notes that you all have in the minute stuff were pretty conclusive. Thank you, Lindsay, for putting all that together very well. I'll just go down item by item. Budget, we started some preliminary conversation about, obviously, we know for the most part labor, because the negotiated agreement was done, that last year. We talked about position filling and where we expect those to be and so forth, so trying to get that pushed into a preliminary budget, as well as the ordinary costs and supplies and electricity and all that kind of stuff. So we haven't put those numbers together, but that conversation on trending has already started. We feel pretty strongly that we're gonna expand budget from just general fund to across all funds, including hot lunch and how that would look, because right now, hot lunch, that expensing reporting that the board and everybody gets only covers supplies and food and so forth, and labor is still over in general, and how we wanna manage that with transfers or so forth and so on. So that is to be coming, but we did start some preliminary groundwork there, and managing how some of those COVID grants, ESSER funds will fall off, and putting those back in and seeing how we can make those readable to everybody. Good on that part, boys?
Would
Okay.
would that include like a monthly budget for food, for the food service, for the hot lunch then? Or what's
We-
gonna be the parameters on that going forward? Cause
We-
that seemed to be quite open-ended right now.
Yes, and that's what, we talked different scenarios. We talked about average cost per meal based on projected population in the school and trying to trend that a little bit. We talked about, considering USDA average food costs per a month, those kinds of things, and how to do that. It would come down to, now we know that not every meal is gonna cost the same, so it's not gonna be held specifically. 1 week's food, depending on choice of menu, is going to be cheaper than the next week's food, so it wouldn't be held week to week or necessarily month to month, but it would be on an average, trying to at least give parameters to people on what they should be targeting for ordering and those kinds of things.
If you didn't do it week by week or month by month, what other way is there to do it? I mean, don't you just have to cap how much you're spending?
We're looking at basically yearly, and you're gonna see what
Right.
percent you're doing month to month,
Right.
you know, so you,
So it's
But
the
it-
same concept as
as
when you
the
look at
budget.
the budget right now, when we're 6 months into the annual year,
You can
the
tell if you're
administrative
halfway
and
you're
the.
about halfway through.
They're 50% in the budget to year column, where the teachers aren't gonna hit that 50% till later, cause their payments start September 1 and go through June 30 payouts for the July and August. So that percentage is, I mean, we're looking at those things now on the general, well, some are reading those that way in the general budget now, so that's kind of the concept also is your food budget's gonna run from September to May, and hopefully May would be cheaper because you'd be using up commodities and those kinds of things, so it would be an overall year looking at percentage. So if you got to February 29th and you were 80% through your budget, you're probably gonna have a problem because you have 2.5 months left and only 20% of your costs. So that conceptually more, rather than you only have $1,000 to use a week kind of thing for like the normal of the rest of us would use. So does that answer your question, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. Number 2 on there was finance and just looking at how we leverage the cash that we have without locking it too hard in CDs and in interest and things like that. So I think Lindsay had done a lot of good research on that, and I think we should be fine. We're not going to be locking anything too hard, but we're going to get
And
better
that'll be
investments.
coming up
We'll be
on
looking
the
at-
agenda
Right,
as well, some
right, right.
recommendations from Lindsay and I as far as
Right.
with that money, yep.
The 3rd was negotiations for the classified staff. We had preliminary discussions on where raises look like. We took into consideration the percentage, obviously, cost of living adjustments, negotiated agreement things that were there. Kind of ended up kind of stratifying the staff in ways because it's really hard to look at everybody. Evaluations, I thought the overall perception the school board received was overall fairly well. I don't think all of them were done department to department though. Was that correct?
Correct.
Not at
Correct.
that time, yeah.
So at that time, we didn't have all the information, but we're pretty comfortable with the financial side of this conversation, making sure people are valued. But it's really hard. We talked percentage increases across the board. We talked, dollars and cents increases across the board and things like that. And in the long run, this is kind of where we came to that was probably the most equitable in the grand scheme of things. So it's not perfect, but I think it's pretty
And we
good,
also
so.
talked about at what level we're going to provide benefits for. Because one thing we
Correct.
don't have.
Oh, yes. That was one of the conversation pieces was, maybe, we don't believe there's an overall issue, but we believe there's a policy piece missing that determines what is considered a full-time benefited employee versus a part-time, and we kind of came back to, federal statute on that. So there's gonna be a push from the Budget and Negotiations Committee to the Policy Committee to just get that incorporated into our phrasing in there,
So is there benefits provided or offered to this group then already, or?
Full-time is, yes,
Yes.
yes. But we didn't find a definition in there of what is considered a full-time employee at this time, so.
That we could find in there, so we went basic to the 80%.
80%.
We're looking at that was
Yeah.
30 hours.
32 if you're a 40-hour
40
contract,
contract.
30 if you're a 7.5-hour
Or
contract, I think it
contract.
was, something like that, so. So we didn't obviously, we penciled out some things, but that's gonna go push to policy and how that incorporates with state and federal law.
But we look for having a minimum to have benefits, yes.
Right, right. We want that defined for any potential issues down the road. So. Any questions on the budget, finance, and whatever our title is?
And a lot of it will come up in the agenda items as we move forward. But
Yep.
concept-wise, if you have any questions on
Mhm.
it.
You got a regular hourly increase of 75 cents per hour except for 2 people.
Yeah, that'll come up in the agenda when we get to that. Yep. Yep.
And then the bus driver increased 75 or 25 cents per hour for routes, with routes still being paid for flat rates.
Yes.
So how do they receive that 25 cent per hour increase?
It's figured on the trip. Right now, it's
Oh, so
figured
that'll
out.
just be used to figure out their costs.
Figuring out their trip
And then
costs.
they'll get paid flat rate no matter what, I got you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just a figure to calculate the trip costs.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So a lot of that will hit when we get to the agenda items to approve. Unfinished, we still have the calendar, graduation date, or at least a time before or after.
Yeah, I mean, I think if nothing else, we at least have the conversation of where people stand of having graduation before the last day of school or after the last day of school. Because if we decide on that, it limits the days we're looking at.
Right.
So,
My opinion is like May 18th, since the next weekend is Val Cities. That's my opinion, but,
So that would be before the last day of school.
yeah. Cause you said be at the last time that all the seniors would have their stuff done those last 4 days, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, basically when they graduated, they would be done.
right.
Basically would have met the requirements of DPI and the BCN school park.
Okay.
So no seniors would come to school from that point on. I mean, that would just be the teachers teaching the class for seniors at that period would just, there'd be no one in
It'd
the
be
classroom.
open, yeah, because a lot of, you know, and depending upon how the new secondary principal schedules things, obviously, that last week can be final tests. And depending upon how it's run, whether it's open campus, closed campus, I mean, that, yes.
I was just looking, you know, like the 25th, that would be the same day as Val Cities, that'd be Memorial Weekend, there's a lot going on. My opinion was doing it the 18th. The week before.
And then how does that look for VOTEC?
VOTEC is actually done, their last day is actually on the 20th
Okay,
with kids. Their last day of work is the 21st, but the last day of class is the 20th in their schedule. Correct, Mike, do you remember that?
It's 20th or 21st.
Yeah.
You
but
probably got the schedule.
But the teachers are one day longer than the students are,
Their
has to be
contract is
there.
1 day longer.
yes.
That's a Tuesday, isn't it?
Yep.
So then if there's seniors in that, they'd have to come to that.
Would they have to come for that?
Yeah.
No. They
They
would
would-
basically be
They
probably
would have
done
to have
with all
their
their.
finals done. If
vote
we're-
tech.
If we're looking for finals done before,
Right.
they would have to have finals.
Michelle, it'd be much like it is now where we graduate, our school is done before VOTEC is done. I mean, once our school is done, those kids
They're
are
done.
done
Okay.
at VOTEC.
That's the push at
Yeah.
VOTEC to get a very similar calendar so you don't lose so many days
Yeah.
for that scenario.
Yeah.
As we go early,
Right.
yes.
Or have we always had graduation in the recent past on a Sunday? Are we stuck on a Sunday?
I mean, to my knowledge, it's been on a Sunday, but I can't speak of length of that.
Years back, no, but lately, to answer your question, it's been on Sunday.
Eric, when was it when you?
No.
Sunday.
Sunday.
I don't know if
Probably been
anybody
that
would be
long.
opposed to it being on a Saturday though, would they? I mean,
I mean, when you say you want it before, do you want a Sunday? Or is that your motions to have a Sunday, or are you looking just motion before school's up?
I'll make a motion for the 18th of Sunday, I guess, what everyone else thinks, so.
Okay, so we have a motion, do we have a second, then we can have some discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion there? Like Tyler's got it, I mean, are we set on a Sunday?
I don't think it matters. I think graduation parties are any day of the week
Yeah.
nowadays. People do things when they want to. For the
Mhm.
most part, it's just the ceremony. And
Yeah.
we don't cap attendance for, you can only have 4 people in attendance or anything like that, so. I mean, it's,
so
As long as we
families
have-
seem to pick a Saturday if they wanna do it Saturday before graduation or whatever.
this would just be the
And if we're,
formal
There's a
ceremony.
lot of Friday night ones coming around more and more too.
We graduated on a Friday
They
night.
do.
Mhm.
So the motion right now is for Saturday, the 18th.
Sunday.
Sunday, the 18th.
Sunday, the 18th.
So that's what we're discussing right
well,
now
the
is
18th is a Saturday.
That's
What?
No,
No, 25. You're
next
looking
year.
at 24.
Oh.
Next year.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No.
Gotcha.
So right now, the discussion is Sunday, the 18th. That's what our motion is, and a second. Any other discussion? Not roll call on that.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Lee,
yes.
Mike,
No.
Cindy,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Eric,
yes,
Michelle.
No.
Okay. Set for Sunday, May 18th. Okay. Turn this to Lindsay, you got the rest, the next first couple on election?
Yep, so for the election precincts, we basically just need a motion to designate the election precinct as a BCN school building. That's where it's been.
We need that motion.
I'll make,
Go.
I'll make a motion to make PCN school building the election, what do I say?
Precinct.
Precinct? Okay.
I'll
Second.
second.
The Rob, roll call.
Rob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes,
Michelle,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
The next,
Polling places.
yep, the next one would be a motion to designate polling places at the BCN school building.
motion to have the election polling place at the BCN school building.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tyler,
Tyler?
when you're ready, roll call.
Tyler,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes,
Lee,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Michelle,
No. Oh, yes, sorry. Sorry.
Mike.
I was
Yes,
writing. I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry, I was writing.
Next is election hours.
Okay, last year we were 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The law requires no earlier than 7 a.m. and you must be open by 11 a.m. and you must remain open until 7 p.m. but no later than 8 p.m. I think 10 to 7 has worked pretty
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
the last couple of years.
motion to make the election hours from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I got one, oh, okay, we need a second.
Second.
Somebody second.
I'll second.
Second by Michelle. Any
Okay,
discussion?
I've got a comment on that. How many people we get to come to their building to vote?
I think there was 50 last year, wasn't there?
How many of them are staff or work in this building?
Without counting.
Without counting, I
A
don't know.
handful, because there's not that many here this, in the summer, and
Yeah.
a handful show up besides that,
Because
so.
we don't seem to get it, no one, I mean, no school boards get very good turnout on.
This year will probably be better, because I hear that Barnes County is sending out absentee ballot application postcard things again, so when that happens, we get some absentee ballots,
Right.
but,
And that helped a lot last time. too.
no, the year before.
Yeah.
But last year was a good turnout in my
Yes.
opinion.
Compared
because
to
there
past
was 4
years.
running for
Correct.
3. It was a
Yeah.
contested election. If we don't have a contested, if it's 3
We
running
have
for
2
3 or
running
2
for
running
three.
for 3,
Nobody.
unless you got strong write-in,
Yeah.
there's not gonna be a lot of desire to take the trip to the school.
Or to
Unfortunately.
anywhere.
To anywhere.
Well, and if,
And the more locations you have, the more election workers you have to find that you can't
Right.
find even from
Right.
here,
Right.
so.
And then how do you pick one town over another? So I
Yeah.
mean,
my worry is that it lends itself to the only people that vote are people that work in the school.
I would say that's not true.
No.
no.
Uh-uh.
I mean, without
And-
looking, I would say for sure less than half. I mean, 30%
Okay, but if you
maybe.
look at the population of people that work in the school versus the population of the district that don't, it's greatly skewed to people that work in the school are showing up to vote.
They're the ones that are invested.
Yes.
Sure, but I mean, if we opened at
I
7
mean, just, I would
o'clock,
say
would
look
you get
around
more
here at
area
your own
farmers
selves
to
and
show
how many
up?
people have shown up to vote over the years. I mean,
So
Has
just a
it been
question.
open earlier
If you're
before?
saying you
I would
wanted,
hope so, but
And it
Who
was
knows,
the same
you know?
turnout?
worse.
if it's a rainy day, you'll get more people than a
Right.
sunny day, you know, that's the thing. You just really
The
can't
first
get-
year I was here, it was COVID, so I can't speak to that year because that was an oddity. Before that, I think if there was 20 people, that was a huge turnout.
Yeah.
And we've done better than that since.
But are we okay, like, are we totally fine with the fact that 20 people come to vote, or do we
I don't know
wanna?
how to change it. I mean,
Right.
it goes in the newspapers, it goes, I mean, it goes as many places as you can get it, but if
I mean,
people
if we
don't come,
start
they
at
don't
7
come.
and go the maximum amount of time, we are giving everyone as much effort as possible. I mean, it sucks for whoever's here, has to be here at
If you can
7.
find someone that
If
wants
you
to
can
be
find
here at
someone,
7
yeah.
is the problem, then they're like, well, we can't make it that early, or we don't wanna be here for
And with
You're
that,
only-
14 hours.
you're
who's
only-
here right now?
What? I don't
More
know.
people.
I
you're
don't
only
do that
gaining
talk
3
to you.
hours too, and most people are, I mean, if you're a farmer, you're at work before 7 anyway, you know what I mean?
And you can always do absentee, I guess, if that's really a challenge too, you know.
And
Yes.
hopefully that helps. But, I don't know, I just look at it that, man, it'd be great if we got more people to vote.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
that's,
And
It's just hard though when you look at
Nature
it
of the beast.
uncontested, I mean,
Yeah.
2 for 3, that,
people
like
don't,
they were saying.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, that really could change. One person could say, hey, you
Yep.
5, let's go vote
Yep.
this guy in. It
Right.
has,
Mm-hmm.
and boom, all of a sudden, some of it, maybe it has no intentions of wanting to be on it, got written in as a joke, or, I mean, it could really end
They
up.
have to
being-
Then
accept
they
it.
have
They
to
have to
decline
accept
it,
it.
they have an open seat.
The write-in spot, if whoever gets wrote in has to accept it. If they do not accept it, it goes to an appointment, back to the board, doesn't go to second, third,
And
whatever.
I think we want to avoid appointments as much as possible. I mean, as much as it has to be done, but.
Yeah, but
the
that
more we
would
get
be the
people voted
process.
on, the better.
the write-in person has to accept that position. If they're qualified to be in the district, yes, they have to accept the position.
And have we had no other candidates?
That, it's done.
The deadline
Done.
was April 8th at 4 PM,
So there's
and
two?
there was 2 for
Two.
3.
So there
And
is
it
a
was posted
write-in
on
position.
Facebook
Yeah.
a couple of times, it was in the newspapers, it
So then how do we cut the amount of people on the school board?
was go to
By
a
vote of the people.
People have to petition us to do that. The only thing
We
we
can't.
as a board can do is what we did in the past, is go from districts to at-large. We have to be petitioned by the
I'm not sure
public.
that's accurate. I
What's that?
think that it can just be on a ballot on an election.
Yeah, yeah. I
Can it?
believe-
Don't- I thought they used to
I
have to
don't
be
think
petitioned.
that's true.
Not anymore, I believe it's through election,
Through
has to be on a
election?
ballot.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
but we've already,
School board member do that, read that petition?
there doesn't
They're
have
saying
to
they
be a
don't.
petition, but we've already missed
Missed
like
for this
deadlines
year,
for this
yes.
election because there's deadlines at the state's level that they've set.
I know we
so.
checked before, we had to have be petitioned, but that could have changed. So all we could do at that time was go from a school board, district by district, we could go district at large.
So this is one of the biggest boards, isn't it?
Yep.
It
Yeah.
is.
They have
This
to
is
be
a very
5,
large
7, or
board.
9.
And we are all at large now, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes,
But amazingly, we cover pretty much the entire district.
yeah. But yes, right now, we're all at large.
So basically, for the next school year, it will be a 9-member board,
Board.
there's nothing
No
you can
matter
do
what.
for that,
No
no
matter
matter
what.
what.
No
Yeah,
matter what, yes. Yep.
Okay, where we at?
Motion to vote.
Motion right now is for
Move to
10 to 7. Any other discussion? Not Lindsay, roll call.
Michelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes,
Rob,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Cody.
Yes.
Next, we're gonna roll to the election work pay.
the official date on that was,
June 11th, the second Tuesday of the month.
thank you. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So last year, election worker pay was $130 per day plus mileage and meals.
Did we increase that last year?
No, it's been that way for a couple of years now. Before that, we were paying them hourly, we were paying
Oh, that's
them
right.
for training, and we were paying them for other things. I haven't done the official, like, come in a day before training, they just come in early. It's lately been the same people.
Yeah, yeah.
And we just kinda go through it. It's not hard. It takes 10 minutes beforehand, and there's not people knocking down the doors, so.
You said 130 plus meals
130
and
plus
mileage.
mileage and meals.
Motion to have $130 per day plus miles and meals and
And
mileage.
Is
I'll
there-
second that.
Was that Eric?
Yep.
Roll call. Ready?
Cindy,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes,
Cody,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Business manager evaluation. 2 of us filled it out. None of the rest. So it's still on the agenda. I think we can deal with it here if we need to, or do we want to go back and have them sent in? I didn't pressure you for it, we talked about it last month. So I really think that we could maybe handle it here without having to wait another month unless you want to really go fill out the forms. But we got a business manager here that, in my opinion, at the board level, is the person that shows us she can do the job every month. And then she's been checked over. She's the only position in the school that we can say that
That we
for,
see.
that we see.
Yep.
So I'd go over, if anybody has anything, like I say, I have 2 evaluations back. Jennifer and I did the evaluation.
I can't remember.
So it's up to you, you guys, we can table it, go back, but I don't know if we need to fill it out. If we got any questions, we can ask, roll over it right now, or whatever, what your guys' thoughts?
I don't know. Did I do it?
You did a while
It was
back.
a long time ago. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't get it, you did.
Because I remember doing it, because I remember making comments.
On the business manager one, or the?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we can handle it at this board meeting and go over it. I mean, I have it here and I went through it again.
And to me, I mean, we have needs improvement, satisfactory, or exceeds expectations. And I pretty much in almost every area said she exceeds expectations. The only areas I didn't is like budget and finance and negotiations, just because I'm not on those committees and I don't see it. Not saying that she doesn't exceed in those areas too.
She exceeds, don't worry.
Okay, so,
She exceeds in that area.
Makes the rest of us look good.
yeah, I mean, as a board member, I just feel that I'm always prepared and any information she has, and if she doesn't have it,
She gets it.
she gets it, or she's already checked into it and just
Yes.
hasn't heard back.
Yep.
And so, I mean, do I ever worry that Lindsay's not doing her job? Absolutely not. I think she does
And she
above and
can,
beyond.
and I probably work with her closer than him, but if I have a question, I can get the answer right away.
Yep.
Whatever time of day it is, right, Lindsay?
Don't tell everybody else.
But no, I have no issues with what the job she does. Would agree. So
I
we
think
can
we're all in
either,
agreeance.
well then, all we would need is
I
some
have a
type of
motion to approve a satisfactory evaluation for the business manager.
I'll second.
Cindy. Any other discussion? If not, roll call, Lindsay.
Mike,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
And thanks, Lindsay, you keep us all in line and you do a good job. Okay, then we'll roll to discussion from our Budget and Finance Committee and look at recommendations for classified raises, which you all have, came in your packet. That's what we recommended.
Okay, I had a question on
Okay,
that
yep,
from earlier.
yep.
We had regular hour increases of 75 cents per hour, except for two. What would those have been? Are they more or less?
They are a little bit more because of change of additional duties that would be put on as we move forward. Right, I think that's the best way to explain that?
Yes,
From
because.
what to what, then how is it
In the-
compared to the rest?
In the classified staff area, there is a position that will not be filled coming for the next
Yeah.
school year. Ms. Joanne Jorison's retirement is her duties, and they have the administration has
A list of her
rubrics kind of thing,
duties that we've kind of,
it's kind of been segregated out, and there's the one, and the one
So
individual, Kim
So your
Schwer.
addition would be, those would probably be from $1 to $1.25
Right,
in increases from where they were and not
So,
the 75 cents.
recommendation is Lindsay to go up $1, Kim to go up $1.25.
Yep.
Because Kim will be probably picking up the
Taking on.
more of
Yep.
Kim's
And Lindsay will
duties
get-
than
Right.
the other people, even though they'll be going out to 4 or 5 different
Right.
people.
yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So that was one question I got is, I understand with where we're at with that position not being filled, and if they can pick up those duties, that's fantastic, that's probably the best option we have. How many people are in the school though thinking they're gonna be picking up that person's duties? Like, 2 will now be getting a pay increase, but is there 10 people that go, man, now I gotta do their job? And
Nope.
those are the only 2?
No, we went
No.
through,
So this will be in their tasks.
they've already been talked to for the most part.
Well, not,
They're not
straight
talked
to-
to.
they
but-
don't know the duties. It's
Right.
known that Joanne's position is
We
not
know where they're
being
going to
filled,
go.
and that these are getting disseminated out
Right.
to other people, and majority of those, because they've been working on it already, as far as like scheduling and secondary end of it and stuff like that, have already been doing some training and trying to figure out some other things, knowing that this is coming.
I just encourage that there's some good communication on that, because it just seems like it allows for an opportunity of a lot of people thinking, I'm gonna have to help pick up the slack, but I didn't get a pay raise. So hopefully that's being communicated by the administration or you or whoever needs to have that conversation as to why only 2 people got a raise.
Yeah,
Additional raise.
additional raise, yeah.
Right.
And my biggest concern is the other side of things is everybody's getting a raise no matter what. And there was one last year already too. I know it's a yearly thing, but in the normal workforce, what I'm used to is you get paid and raised on your performance. Not singling anybody out or picking or anything like that. But I feel it should be more of a individual instead of a base, because I don't know everything going on. But like in a workforce, you have some employees that are above and beyond, you have some that are just skating by. Is it fair for the ones up there not getting benefited, and the ones at the bottom getting something and just expecting it every year? That's my issue with the rest of this.
The only problem with that is you're talking private versus public, so
Right.
that's a whole different ballgame.
Right?
You can't go on merit in public setting.
We're not doing that with the teacher side, we don't do by merit.
Right. So I don't know,
That's pretty tough to,
I
I know
understand
what
our
you're
hourly
saying.
staff isn't
No, I understand.
contracted like that.
They're not
either.
unionized.
They're not-
So that's the difference too,
But it
is
is public knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think where we need to maybe lean harder on as a school board is we're gonna have to, the only thing we could even discuss was evaluation
Evaluations.
process.
well, and that was my next question. Can
IPs.
everybody that does the evaluations honestly say everyone deserves a raise?
That report was not given all the way through to committee.
That was not,
Does it
that-
exist?
I
They
don't
were-
know.
Well,
they were not finished at the-
Evaluations are open record.
They are
And
open
so-
record.
And
They were not all complete and had the conversation due to the
right.
timeline of the budget versus the evaluation process.
So the budget committee recommended giving raises to people they did not see an evaluation from.
We don't.
I think it's
And you-
perception. Teachers are taking on extra duties all the
I'm not
time
against,
too. And
I'm not against giving raises. I'm
No,
not saying
yeah.
that. I'm just saying, I'm not in agreement on how.
yeah, and there was a discussion in
There
that
was
committee
discussion.
on merit-based pay, for that. Whether lengthy or not, it was discussed. And, part of that, you look at, you know, and I eval supervisors and people kind of in mine, and supervisors eval people under their jurisdiction for that. I'll be very honest, in a school our size, when last year we said, well, we're gonna do evaluations for everybody, sent an email out on the listserv. Will you send me a copy of your classified staff evals? In the 15 that I got back, 15 said, who has time to do classified staff? Where are you gonna find them anyway? If they're bad, you fire them. If not, who are you gonna find to do it? I mean, and like it or don't like it, that's the reality of it.
Well, that's 100% true, but if you do not fire someone that should be fired, the good people quit, and that's even worse.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's for sure the situation that we don't wanna be in, and if we're recommending raises to people that never had an evaluation, I can't support that. Because I don't wanna hear that that's what happened, that we lost great people because we didn't fire a terrible one. Now, hopefully, we're not in that spot, but we could be, because we're giving raises to people that you've never seen, or you're recommending giving raises to people you've never seen an evaluation for.
And I don't know all the wages, the variance, but at a $15 an hour raise, or $15 an hour wage at 75 cents, that's 5%. If it's up to 30, that's 2.5%. I don't know.
We had some of that discussion, because what we're doing right now is those people on the lower end, we're having to pay more even if we hire them, because we don't stick to that schedule. Mr. Curry's gotta put it in a number that they'll come in at. So we decided we had to move that bottom at a little higher percent than the top side. Because right now, we've had everybody
Yeah.
sitting at
Yeah.
$15, and we can't bring people in at $15.
Right.
Yeah,
I
because
just
all of a
built
sudden
that
you try to
number.
hire
I don't know
somebody
what
at
the
$15
wages
an hour
are. I'm
and
just
no one comes, and
asking.
then you get one applicant, and he says, I can't come in for
So
anything
we're,
less
so
than
we're,
17.
we're adding to it already, just
You
to
know,
get them in the door, correct? I mean.
Yes,
that's the-
oh, very correct. I mean, hire custodian, hire whatever, you know, looking at 15, they're not walking in the door at 15. I mean, so we started at 15.50 or 16. Get him or her in the door at that.
So we
For
need,
that,
we
whether it's
discussed we
whatever
had to move
position.
that lower side.
But we tried to keep cognizant
Yep.
that we didn't want any shifts in classified to go against anything that would be offensive in the negotiated agreement either.
Correct.
I mean, we knew we couldn't economically.
Yeah, and we looked at
create
percentage of it
right.
too, but in the percentage, the higher ones move quicker than the bottom ones,
Right.
as far as up to
So,
salary
and
scale.
then like
and that
last
too.
year, the hourly got a 75 cents.
50.
No,
No,
75.
we talked about 50 and went to
Talked about
75.
50.
And then hourly, so there's one group that got raises last year, and a group that didn't, and now this year,
Which group did
Which
not?
group did
bus
not?
drivers did not last year.
Correct.
Correct,
Bus drivers and daily substitute rates did not get raised last year.
correct.
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 Yep.
Last year, correct.
Yep.
So is this going to be changing year to year that you guys foresee, or every year type thing, or what do you guys,
We look at this every year.
right, okay? Are you guys expecting an increase every year?
Are you expecting an increase every year? I would say, in general, the workforce is expecting an increase every year.
Right.
Would I like to give an increase every year? Not across the board. But the workforce itself, to keep people in the building, you're gonna have to adjust for the cost of living something.
Cost of living increase is pretty much a given thing.
It's varying anywhere from 1.6 to 5% in the last
Correct.
5 years.
Correct.
But, and that doesn't include merit increase for your performance. That's above and beyond that. So if somebody is excelling, that's where they get the extra.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean,
But even a bad employee deserves a cost of living increase. That's just the way the world is. Should
To
they get
keep
it?
them,
Probably
to keep
not.
them, yes.
To
I
retain
get
them.
I personally get the idea of getting them in the building, but I've personally seen it in the past too, where people get comfortable,
Correct.
expecting it every year too. And that's where my issue is gonna be. Like I said, this is not a personal, or this is just a dealing with workforce in the past and money and all that.
We can table this to another month. It did not, it works best for Mr. Curry to get out the intent to hire. That's why we looked at it this
Yeah.
month.
We
That
have
was
a serious vacancy problem now.
Right.
Yeah, I know we do.
We can't make it worse. And
Right.
personally, if I was in the situation and I wasn't getting a yearly increase, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
And that's
I
just-
agree with that, but if I'm busting my butt to do the best I can and I see someone who just shows up and does nothing and they percentage-wise get 3 times the increase that I did because I'm one of the top paid people, I'm probably upset about it.
But that's
And who do
where
you wanna
the merit
protect? Do you
increase
wanna
comes
protect
above
your
it.
lowest paid people, or do you wanna protect your highest paid people? And I would much rather see it somehow included, I mean, it's not easy and it's complicated, but when you're given the same across the board, you've got the opportunity to upset your best workers pretty quick.
Right, that's what I'm concerned about too, upsetting a good one and keeping us
So
subpar.
it's not
You're
that
not
they might
saying
not all
anything we
need a
didn't
raise.
discuss. You're not saying anything
This
we
is
didn't
not
go
news
through.
to the
Yeah.
discussion.
Right. But we're glad you guys think very
Similar to
similarly
us.
to what we read through. So,
I make a motion to table it and discuss, have the budget and finance committee discuss including merit into these raises.
And we're gonna base that merit on.
wait,
what?
ask for a second first.
For a second. There's a second.
I'll second.
Okay. The merit will be based on what?
You need to give parameters. that
What's the
committee-
parameters?
Well, I
So
think
who
that
does the
comes out of their
evaluations?
superiors, right? The administration,
He does to the
Whoever's working with
supervisor,
them.
the supervisors do to underneath.
Supervisors do.
So it's
to-
not the same people giving the evaluation.
so the people that said who has time for these evaluations now need to find time to
Well,
make the
we just had an
evaluation.
evaluation where 2 of 9
Didn't do it.
Did
only
it,
did it.
didn't do it.
For someone that's
And we just
included in
So
approved
this
are
it.
group
you
of
gonna
people.
ding the people that didn't get evaluated because their supervisor didn't? Or are you gonna ding the supervisor that didn't take the time to do the evaluation?
Well, I would say it all comes down to the school board. So the school board needs to make our
Not in- we
administrators,
can't-
the
No.
school board president didn't say anything to make the school board, I mean, I
we
did not
can't
return
push-
that.
We have finances and policy.
Yeah.
We set out policy, we set out finances. We don't do evaluation.
No, but we hire the superintendent who can do evaluations. And if we tell them to make it a priority, don't they have to make it a priority?
They was pushed out.
So that's how it gets
So
started.
that's why
not-
my question comes to you. Do you ding the supervisor that didn't take the time, or do you ding the person that didn't get evaluated?
No, the supervisor, if they're supposed to
Okay,
do
that's,
that.
the
then-
that's the answer we were
That's the
looking for.
answer.
So you're gonna
And I
ding
don't
the
think that's
supervisor.
the issue. I think they'll get done, but, I mean, evaluations, are they subjective or are they,
Right.
how are you gonna look at
I
it?
think it's pretty easy. Like, you can have a discussion with whoever it may be and go, how's this person doing? We got an issue. Okay, now you know you got an issue. That person's great. That's all it takes.
As
It's
an
not like
administrator who evaluates,
Mhm.
and we've worked really hard as an elementary team to clarify what that looks like. Here's where I have the concern. So I think about every teacher typically.
Teachers over
I
is
know, but
completely different. I don't
it's
even know
coming to
how it can
classified.
relate to this.
So I asked Mr. Curry about this. We hired a new secretary for more than our paras were making with the exact same requirements. And I said, how are we going to keep paras if the exact same requirements, one is getting this much more? I would want to be the secretary instead of para. They're picking up duties too as teachers are gone or they're getting duties as assigned. So how do we justify an evaluation? Kim's is done differently, and I do paras on this side, but he does paras on that side, but they have the same requirements for that job. That's where I struggle. If it's the same requirements, why is there such a difference? Because we're going to lose people that way too. And those people are affecting, instruction and student achievement. And so that's where I would struggle as an administrator, regardless of who's getting it. I'm like, how do you guys determine, like Cody said last year, the bus drivers didn't get it, but if they deserve, fuel prices go up and they have to get here, but those classified staff that are on the same level with the same years of experience and stuff, how do we justify paying different
I believe we're gonna lose
regardless
more
of
people
evaluation?
by having different rates.
Mm-hmm.
When you got two different evaluators that are evaluating somebody
But that's
in a
what is
different
happening
way.
with this raise right now,
I-
is there's two people getting two different rates of pay, and people are questioning,
No, but that's, the two different things are, they're adding stuff to their job.
but so are other people, but it, just because a position is eliminated, it doesn't,
No, but if you're adding something to somebody's job, then the pay increase should be there.
I think that's
But-
the argument, more than two people would pick up those duties. And then how do you,
and then how do you
Mostly,
justify what
I think
duties are
A
picked
lot
up?
of it's admin, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
Some of
it
it
falls to admin. I'm picking up some duties,
And-
secondary principal picking up some duties. Guidance counselor, whose contract we do not hold, picks up duties.
I would probably
pick
up some.
Mrs. Betts, yeah, Mrs. Betts will
These
pick up
people are
some,
being
yeah.
asked to pick up the duties, correct? It's not just being insinuated.
Well, when
I
we
think
cut
you get told,
positions,
don't you,
regardless,
like,
somebody has to pick it up.
My contract says other duties as assigned.
Everybody says.
No, I mean, the duties fall within probably the parameters
Yeah.
of
It's not
the
like they're gonna
people's
ask.
roles and areas.
well, and that was my comments, that I
that's-
just hope there was an explanation, like, these people are getting it and why. Like, someone
Oh,
has to
yes.
have that conversation with everyone
Yes.
else, cause everyone's gonna feel like they should also be part of that group that got a raise.
And actually, if you look at our districts and our size, and you go into other schools don't
Have
have two
that, yeah.
administrative assistants, so.
So those
What has
duties
been
were,
going on has been we've probably been a little spoiled.
and I think that's where you get pushback, is when you have the extras and then you take it away, right?
Unfortunately, the extras will get taken away eventually with the.
And I think perception has been teachers, right, always. And so now we have to adjust it, but I'm just saying, like, years of experience and justification, I would really struggle with a subjective, I mean, honestly, evaluations are somewhat subjective. I know there's been evaluations done where it's not putting the
We're
true,
talking kind of a satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And
Sure.
it's just
Yeah.
having that question, are they good or are they bad?
I think evaluations are very important, not just for the critique of the higher level to the lower level,
Right.
for lack of a better word, but also for the daily worker to look at the supervisor and say, these are the issues I have, or to look at the school as a general. It's gotta go both ways in an evaluation. It is not us saying, you're doing a bad job or you're doing a good job. It is supposed to be a constructive criticism in both directions. And evaluations should be, just the same as a budget, should be a very important process of growth and opportunity within everything. So why we say, just don't have enough time to make this a priority, I think that's very much showing that we're not looking for that growth and opportunity within the whole scheme of
Where do you gauge that unsatisfactory and satisfactory in that
Yeah.
when it's public knowledge? I mean, at my workplace, you can have 10 different people getting different wages and
Right.
they don't know that.
Correct.
But here they know it.
Right.
And then, oh, why is mine unsatisfactory because I didn't do this? That,
But I don't think a job evaluation can be given to somebody without a job description.
True job description.
right.
And that's where we came through with the business manager, the superintendent, is you have to have the job description to say you are or are not, because sometimes people don't even know, like you're talking about the
There's a
transition of
gap.
some of Joanne's things. Do we know what we're talking about?
Right.
And has that
And as
been
all of
handed to
these
somebody?
positions have a job description.
Right. This is
with
the growth
all of that.
opportunity of an evaluation process.
there's a lot floating around out there actually for
Right.
this school in general, but it's a reflective piece. A lot of that has been lost.
Right.
And I know I reflected on that, and I said there needs to be a designated time where we share that with them and go through those expectations. And this year with not having everybody on staff right away, I reflected, I'm like, whoa, we missed that this year. I didn't get a time for you to sit down with your cooperating teacher as a para and go through those expectations like we have in the years past.
So with that in mind, the discussion point I have left is, we would love to see evaluations of all positions within the building. We would love to see evaluations of even ourselves. Can we force them by withholding or giving raises? I don't know if that's a discussion or a viewpoint that I would like as the school board to have. For people to look at us and say, we withhold raises because we have issues with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or a department or whatever, so. But that would be my opinion on it when we went through the process.
So is it administration and then like the contract staff, is that yearly negotiations or a couple of
It
years?
isn't negotiation.
It's not negotiations for
Talking
classified
about
staff.
Classified staff is not
Yeah,
negotiated.
contracted staff
Well, we look at this every year though.
on the
We have to
classified staff,
set
yes.
rates every year.
Yes.
Because contracts are issued.
'Cause
Intent to hire
Intent to hire
are
has to be
issued.
sent out.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's the wrong word.
so it has to be looked at every year.
Correct.
correct.
Which is the tool that we then give to Lindsay and Mr. Curry to put the budget, to
Together.
finalize the budget.
Which we don't move on the budget until we have them numbers.
What did you say?
We don't move anywhere more on the budget till we got some of them numbers.
I know, this is a hairy situation, I get it.
Yeah, and the intent to hires are twofold. One, you know, I suppose so they know what they're getting paid next year, and two, so we know who's coming back next year.
And I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
Like I said, the biggest issue I have is you might have somebody who's making 25 who's not doing a decent job, who's getting 3% raise, and somebody down at $15 is, you know what I mean? That's the problem I have.
And we've had other years where we've had that staff come in and at least just sit down and talk to us.
Mhm.
That's been discussed for the last too many years. So we've talked about the percentages and what happens in departments. And Rob would probably remember too, is if, as you're in that department, if you go by percentages, all we're doing is we keep making this bigger gap, and now you get a lot of the in-department squabbles. Oh boy, that one just jumped up like $2, and I'm sitting at 40 cents. And we're sitting in the same department in the kitchen doing the same job probably.
By going by percentage, because.
you're going by
it
percentage.
increases more for the person
Yes.
that's already
Right.
making.
And all it does is spread the gap, and our issue right now is how do you bring the bottom up? Right now, we're saying we weren't gonna start anybody less than 15. We're not getting them in at 15. We've gotta move the bottom, we can't. So that's where we've had the same discussions as you guys had. We've talked about merit, we've talked about everything.
So we're at before last year, what was the increases every year? So this is 2 years in a row of, based on $20 an hour, 3.75% increase.
We shot
Or was it
for,
before?
overall, when you took all the things, as we've talked with other, from the administration down, that group shooting at a 3% increase. This proposal is at 2.97, or pretty close to that. We took that group of this and we came to close to 3%.
So you're trying.
We're consistent top to
Yeah.
bottom.
Every year.
Yeah. Well, depending on the economic situation.
This is of the total, I mean, here's where we were paid.
Right.
But
Here's
for the
what-
past, every year, you're trying to get to 3% every year.
No,
No.
per year,
Per year.
not,
It-
we're
it's
trying to
been 50
match,
cents before.
sometimes it's been 50 cents.
Since I've been here, I think I've been treated differently. I know in the past Bud's position has been treated differently. But I wanna say 1 year since I've been here, it was 25 cents. 1 year it was 50 cents.
This year, what we did from our discussion from administration down to here is, budget-wise, we're shooting for a 3%. The classified staff, moving from here to this proposal, is like 2.9, it's right at 3%. Am I correct? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we crunched numbers
We
and
crunched
then we
numbers.
went back like they're
Yep.
saying and took the bottom times that percentage
Yep.
and the top and tried to take it in the middle somewhere, so.
that's how we arrived at this proposal. Leaves,
Yep.
right? If anybody wants to add to it from that discussion. Right now, we do have a motion to table in a second, we're still in discussions.
Well, the motion was to table it.
Table
Correct.
it
And
Yes.
and include merit.
And to include merit.
I still think that it's important to make sure that you're not rewarding like a toxic employee.
We understand that totally.
That-
Yes.
And I have no idea. Hopefully, we are not in that situation at all.
Right.
But if you ever find yourself in that situation, you know how terrible that can be. And I don't even wanna give the school the opportunity to be in that situation because we move forward without some sort of evaluation. So that's why I made the motion I did.
I would think that though, if there's somebody toxic working in this building, they'd be fired.
Because they're an at-will employee, that group is at-will.
So,
I think there's been times in the recent past that they haven't been to.
When's the last time somebody has been fired?
Do we know?
Prior to me, I don't think
Hopefully,
anyone's
we've
been
had
fired
great
since I've
employees,
been
but
here.
I think they've left.
Yes, I think you're right. I think
like
that's
we're
what
getting
happens
off
is
the
they
top.
haven't been fired, they've probably left under their own.
So that's the motion. Any other discussion on it?
I'll just say, I feel like the budget committee has done legwork and all the research and crunched all the numbers, and that's how I feel. Like, we have the committees for a reason, for them to bring back the recommendation to us, and we can add to it. I get that. And maybe this is something that needs to be discussed more, but maybe not I don't know if tabling is the right thing to do at this point. Would be my opinion.
Anything else? Now we have a motion to table. Roll call, Lindsay.
Lee,
no.
Michelle,
No.
Jennifer,
No,
Cody,
no.
Tyler,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Cindy,
No.
Rob,
No.
Mike.
Yes.
So we have 3 yes, 6 no, so it fails.
My
It's not
concern
tabled.
is how many times are we gonna keep talking about this? Cause I know you guys are in deep discussion, we just went into deep discussion, how long? That's my concern, I guess, but.
So right now, it's not tabled, you act on the recommendation or propose some other type of recommendation and straight percent, whatever you wanna propose. Our recommendation from the budget and finance is what's before you.
So if I make a motion to go with the budget finance, how do I say that? Just to go with what they recommended?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion, we go with the budget finance committee on the recommendation.
Do you want me to read the recommendation?
Okay, read the recommendation.
If I can find it, give me
Do
a
I have to
second.
include that whole thing in the
It's-
motion?
I'll read it as printed in the minutes that were provided from the Budget and Finance Committee. After I find it. The committee recommends the following increases for 2024 to 2025 year. Hourly subs increase 50 cents per hour. Regular hourly increase 75 cents per hour, except Kim Schwer and Lindsay Polk. Kim Schwer would be moved to $20 per hour, and Lindsay Polk would be moved to $30 per hour. Bus driver increase would be 25 cents per hour for routes, with routes still paid for their flat rates rather than paid for time actually driving. Activity bus and sit time are staying the same. Sub-teacher pay increases to $145 per day and $72.50 for a half day.
That would be Rob's motion. Is there a second to that?
I will second that.
I would have to have a conflict of interest to vote on this, so you guys would decide if I vote or not before we get to the discussion and vote.
Lindsay, I need to motion if you can vote or not,
Yes,
correct?
right.
I motion that Mike Schwer abstains from voting.
I will
I'll second. Oh, go ahead,
No,
no,
go ahead.
Michelle.
Go ahead. Cindy seconded.
So we need a roll call on that.
Michelle,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes?
Cody,
This is for me to vote.
This is for
Oh,
him
for
to
you to
abstain.
vote, yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Cindy,
To
Yes.
vote or not to, to
Rob.
abstain
To
from voting.
abstain,
Yeah.
this is so Mike
Yeah,
does not
yes,
vote.
yes.
Mike,
Yeah.
Lee.
Yes.
Okay. Now the motion on the table is to, with a proposal set from the budget and finance. Any other discussion there?
I would like to include on the discussion of the importance I feel of having evaluations done of these people, and if we can't enforce it through this, how do we get it done? Maybe that's just a question for, I don't know.
I think
Yeah, I don't think,
for next year, for sure. I would
Yeah,
like
and
to see
Eric,
Brought it
don't-
up this year. We, that's the first
evaluations
question,
done.
Jen, and we all asked, are the evaluations complete?
yes, I mean, if that's, I mean, wishes of the board, I mean, valuations, I mean, they were completed last year, and by the end of the year, they will be completed this year.
Personally,
For all
I'd like to
positions.
see 'em- Personally, that's my opinion, I'd like to see them done before this is.
We need an earlier time
Decided.
for them
So
to
it
be
sounds
done.
like that needs to be on the board agenda for next month.
We need that on the board
July
agenda
or-
for, say, March of next year before we look to turn them out.
Because yes, they do not follow the same timeline as teacher evaluations are due, or administrative evaluations are due.
Are those on
in
a
all honesty-
deadline too, or?
Those are not on a deadline, no, much like Lindsay's or anybody else's classified staff, I mean, do not have to have a evaluation, and there is no deadline for it.
And if
I guess
the
it's,
board doesn't ask for it, it puts the administration in a tough spot if they have someone that they need to have a conversation with, because how do they single them out for evaluation if everyone isn't required of it? So this way, if there is someone that you're having issues with, it's required of everybody. You don't have to single that one person out. Everyone has to go through it.
Anything else? If not, roll call.
Cody.
This is for voting to pass it, or?
To-
For the negotiation, yep, for what the
The
negotiations.
motion to
committee
approve
brought.
recommendation from Budget and Finance Committee that Jennifer read.
Nothing personal, I just don't like how it goes back and forth, I'm gonna say no.
Cindy,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Eric,
No.
Mike.
I can vote.
Oh, yeah.
It's like me walking on already unlocked doors.
Myself. Lee,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes,
Passes.
Okay. You're gonna take over the transfer and investment part, Lindsay, from what you
Sure,
researched?
now that my brain is scrambled. All right, so in our committee meeting, we talked about trying to take advantage of some of the higher interest rates that are out there. We have accounts for the building fund, general fund at Bank Forward, and we have a money market account at Dakota Bank currently for the general fund. I have talked to people at both banks. They've both given us some interest rates that we feel were pretty good. Right now, the Dakota Bank account gets 1% and the Bank Forward accounts are getting 2.5%. So we would recommend, and this is Mr. Curry and I looking at the actual numbers, for the building fund, moving $450,000 into a CD, which is a CDAR account is what they call them. It's similar to like the ICS sweep accounts that we have now to make sure everything is FDIC insured. To move $450,000 for 18 months. The rate on that at Dakota, or at Bank Forward for 18 months is 4.45%. For the general fund at Bank Forward, we would look at moving $250,000 for 6 months, and then maybe look at doing something else in the fall or when that one comes up. The 6-month rate is 4.86%. And then Dakota Bank has a little bit of a different type of setup than Bank Forward. So that money we have not touched since I've been here. I don't know if it was ever utilized before that, but it's just been sitting there accruing 1% interest. And there's $421-ish thousand in that account. They have a money market account that is, they use CDs to hedge the variable interest rate. So they provided us a bunch of different rates. There is a fee associated with those, so I will give you the after fee rate. So we would propose moving $400,000 for 2 years at 4.7%. And that's the
General-
after.
General fund.
That's a
not-
general
General
fund
fund,
account
that's
at Dakota Bank.
Fund, yes.
So a 2-year is less interest than a 6-month?
Right, because you're locked in at that rate for 2 years. In 6 months,
Yeah.
if the rate dropped a 0.5% or a full percent or a 1/4%,
Yeah.
then
What-
you're.
Oh. I
What are
think-
the fees?
I think it is.
So the original rate on that 2-year would be 4.9%, so it's 0.2% down to 4.7.
And I will say the budget committee discussed,
When the budget committee met, we did not have numbers from all the banks.
correct, but we were, the only thing I was gonna say is that we want to, we're always covered under FDIC insurance, we have no issues with that, all banks give it pledged, so we have no issues on anything related to that side of things, so auditability, we're totally fine and all that good stuff. But we wanted to try to not put all our eggs in one basket with the local region of banks and so forth.
And we wanted
so-
to only deposit comfortably
Correct.
to cover what we needed to cover.
Right. We do not feel there was any risk in the dollar amounts
Amount that
that
we-
Lindsay is discussing in locking up, so.
So what is like early withdrawal fees on those?
I do not have that information.
Generally, it would be probably 2 to 3 months of your interest, in general speaking.
So as long as it's in there for 3 months, if it has to come out, you've at least broken it.
probably,
Yeah.
somewhere, and that's a
You
general thinking.
could, but when Lindsay and I looked at how much we should take,
Right.
we took that into consideration.
Right.
Our discussion was to be very conservative and comfortable
With
with the
that,
numbers.
You're only
like-
a few months in, you're pretty safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like building and grounds, I mean, that's roughly going to be probably, or the building fund, that's roughly gonna be about half of it. But anything that would happen to our building would probably fall under catastrophic
Insurance.
insurance for that, so we feel comfortable taking at least half of that and moving it over. With that, in that Dakota Bank one, like Lindsay said, hasn't been touched
It's
for
been-
as long as she knows.
It's been sitting there for
Yeah,
years.
so that's why we went extended on that one.
Who brought this forward?
Lindsay
I
had done
had
the
mentioned
checking
it
and
to
then we were
Mr.
trying to see
Curry,
how we
I don't know,
could
last
just-
fall, we started talking about
Yeah.
it, and
When interest rates were on accounts were only 0.5%, and the percent CDs were not much better, it didn't make much sense to jockey money. But we
And
need,
now it's to
we're
the point where
missing
we're
out.
looking to generate some, it
No, I think
made
was a
sense to
good
look
catch.
at.
Somebody was on their toes
Yeah.
thinking of doing that.
So that's where it originated or came from. So how can we generate something that's sitting there?
Yeah, and knowing that we were sitting on 1%, that wasn't really doing a whole lot
What
for
we
us.
can do, yeah.
We were
I make
kind
a
of-
motion to move 250,000.
I have
What?
motions, cause the banks need them specific.
Specific.
Oh, you have it, there you go, then you
Sorry.
read.
I'll get the first one.
Okay.
I make a motion to invest 450,000 from the building fund into an 18-month CD ARS account with Andrew Curry and Lindsay Polk as signers on the account.
I'll second that.
Okay. You got that, Lindsay? It's, and you roll call.
Mike,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes,
Eric,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
And we have another one.
I'm waiting here for her pen to stop moving.
Okay.
Motion to invest 250,000 from the Bank Board General Fund into a 6-month CD ARS account with Andrew Curry and Lindsay Polk as signers on the account.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Lee. Any other discussion? Not roll call, Lindsay.
Michelle,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes,
Cindy,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Motion to engage Dakota Bank Trust Department for investment services and appoint Andrew Curry and Lindsay Polk to direct the account.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Michelle? Any other discussion? Not roll call when you're ready, Lindsay.
Jennifer,
yes,
Cody,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're gonna have that discussion on that update for the audio system. Building and Grounds has already looked at that.
Building and grounds, you wanna make a recommendation?
Is there a recommendation from Building and Grounds?
right after all
Maybe
the
we
money.
should have this.
Right to the last page.
I was gonna say,
I am really sorry, I even wrote on my paper, sent to the school board, and they dated it, so I think I have too many things that I was trying to multitask.
And as Mrs. Bitch gets into it, just keep in mind, this is a building fund expense.
I'll just show everybody this, huh? Okay, so here is the, quote from Marco Technologies. And I'll go through this with you. I've been through it enough, I basically know with my eyes closed.
Can you zoom in on it some?
Oh, yeah, yep. Oh, let me get this full screen here and get that off. Ooh, that gives me 2 pages.
Gotta zoom in more so it's coming.
Yeah. How was that, Eric? And then I can just scroll, can you?
I can move to the front.
I remember the last number, that's how
I emailed it to Lindsay, so she'll throw it in that folder too. But, so here's the deal. So our Bell PA system is IP based. Okay, so our bells and intercom run on the network.
It's also integrated with all of our classroom audio, so this isn't just about bells and intercoms. This is about classroom audio systems and also security. Okay, so keep that in mind. I wanna tell you, I think the biggest problem with our AMX that we installed an IP-based back in 2013, that's 11 years ago. Doesn't seem like a long time. COVID hit, that company, I mean, it took a hit from COVID. And actually, any problems that we've had since, you know, what, a year or two after COVID, I've had a really hard time finding support, because it just doesn't exist. Like I've told you before, I had been in contact with one guy in Texas who has been graciously enough, helpful enough to try to get me back on track, but now we've actually died, and it's not coming
He
back
didn't
to
die,
life.
it was the system.
System died.
What? I said he didn't die, the system
System
did.
died.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it actually died. He actually died. Oh, we didn't die. Okay. So, this is kind of what it looks like. I'll go through, line by line. So we have a quantity of, classrooms here. We have 26 that are gonna be getting a new audio system in the classrooms that equals 4 speakers. And then, the teachers' microphones that they're going to wear, amplifiers in each room. And then our fax room, interestingly enough, it's a 6-speaker system. So that's broke down differently on here.
Is that why the teachers aren't using their Connect things anymore, because they don't work anymore?
Yep, this is, that's a good point too. So we do have teachers that are not using their systems because they don't work. I mean, they've failed, and the amps that work in that room are obsolete. The teacher microphones that they have right now, those are obsolete. Okay? So that makes a difference too when your kids is learning. If you have, it's funny, I had done a little bit of a activity with the elementary teachers on the importance, because some of them say, I'm gonna pick on Krista Almond, she would let me pick on her because Krista's loud, I mean, we all know this, she has a loud voice. So she would say, I don't need a microphone, everybody can hear me. Yeah, they can hear you. You know, but that's not necessarily, hearing and getting clarity are two different things. So we did this little activity where it was almost like the telephone game. You said something and you had to get to the end and see what was said at the end. And yeah, just to kind of stress the importance of teachers using those microphones and how that is distributedly, you know, evenly distributed in the classrooms. Plus, we might have kids that have it in their IEPs, and then you're stuck to using it. So all of this stuff that you see on this first page is that bit of information here. This is the 26 classrooms, and I've listed all the classrooms, 15 elementary, 7 high school, the 2 at ISO Comtech, and 1 library. So we have speakers that have to go in the classrooms. We have a receiver to the amp. Each classroom is going to have we have a call button right now. If you look over behind that computer with a little call button there, gives us communication with the office if we need to via our system. They're gonna have an interactive touch panel. So that's gonna communicate with the office from a safety standpoint. If we need to go into a lockdown, they can hit that panic or lockdown on their microphone that they're wearing or else on the wall, and that's gonna send an alert to the kiosk in the office about a lockdown. We could even expand it even more if we went into a lockdown, that would send out an alert to our local authorities. So it is a safety standpoint too. So that is,
First 6 things there is $85,000. And that's hardware, you're saying?
yeah, this is all hardware. Do you want me just to scroll to the final price?
Yes, just
Good.
go there,
Sure.
and then you can go back, just get the sticker shock over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we go down and our total price is $166,541.
School-wide.
Yes. So, do you want me to explain everything to you, or you just want me to give you the cost and then we just?
You worked over this through building and grounds. Is there a recommendation to go with this?
I believe so,
Yeah.
yes, because there was no.
Because you guys have looked at it, I mean.
Our
you know,
biggest thing was
The questions you probably have,
IEPs.
yeah.
sticking with that and the security.
And the safety and security were a big
Yes.
part of it,
Yeah.
So,
of our
yes.
discussion as well.
And
And
remember,
how
it's
it-
not just Bell and PA.
Right,
We look at it, we're like, oh my God, it costs that much for bells. Well, it's not just bells.
It is a lot of components for each
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
And so you think, how do you get to that number? And my biggest point in discussion was, did we do something wrong in the first place? Like, why are we having to do this now? And really, it was just equipment that isn't being serviced anymore, and it has to be replaced. And when it fails,
Yep.
there's no way to replace it, so
And-
the system has to be redone.
What does
We also
Marco have
looked
for
at,
life?
when this was first put in, Mrs. Bitts, the cost was not a whole lot different.
No, it
Back
wasn't.
13
I
years
had
ago than
pulled
it is
that
right now,
too.
so.
I think we were 140 something.
Yeah, it was only like
I think
20,000
something
different,
like
so.
that.
So do they got any lifespan on
Yeah.
this system?
Yeah, well, that is a very good question, because I think Brenda said that when we were on the phone with them
Yeah.
that day, that we have schools, they have schools that have that audio enhancement in their classrooms or in their buildings. You know, she's saying you're gonna get a good 20, 30 years out of that, for sure. But, I mean,
They,
Take
Yeah,
two-thirds
they
of
can
that.
say
Yeah.
they make things,
I
they
don't-
make things
22.
nowadays to fail, so
To-
you have
yes.
to get
yeah.
new and updates.
But we're fortunate we can use existing wiring, so we don't have to
That was my next
add or
question.
pull any of that, yeah.
That is the biggest thing when we built, when I looked at those plans, I put extra cabling
Yep.
in every single classroom. I had them pulled. Of course, that was change orders back in the day. I think Mike's probably
Yep.
the only one that remember.
There's
I
lots
did
of
a few
change
orders. So we are set to go with, because everything is over the network. So we don't have to. The only thing that we're gonna pull extra are the gyms. And simply because our gyms were not set up to be instructional areas. You know, we had one gym teacher when we first moved into this building, so, I don't know why we didn't ever set the.
This one does speaker, does, addresses the gyms?
Yes. yes.
With
So
speakers
the
and everything?
wheeling around speaker probably won't have to be used as much?
Well, the wheeling around, I mean, Mr. T uses a lot.
Right, but
For
yeah.
FIAD and things like that.
For
But
lighting
the-
and things like that, we'll have a sound system.
We have a sound system right now.
And it still works, that did not go away
No,
with the B.
that sound system, if we
Good.
wanna plug in music there
Okay.
or anything, microphones.
Does it
we can do
update
that.
the gym? That would be my only
The,
question.
the part that's gonna change in the gym is there's gonna be that receiver so that the teachers, our gym teachers
Oh.
can wear that
Gotcha.
mic.
Got it.
Okay, okay.
And then they had the emergency feature too. If they're in the gym with a student that goes down, they can press that
That's
emergency
the,
button.
that's the additional in the gym.
And they
Gotcha.
can have
Okay.
that two-way conversation with the,
Okay,
Office kiosk.
with the office
Yes.
kiosk. Yep.
okay.
Yep. We're also gonna be having the availability to do pages over, right now, Kim's doing the announcements over the phones, but the announcement, and thank God we have like a little bit of a backup. The announcements come through the phone speakers, but we'll have the ability, because it's all network-based, to pick up a phone and we can do a page that will come across the speakers in all of
Okay.
the building. So it is a lot, and it is quite complex. And I've gone over it again and
Line by
again
line.
and
Line.
again.
And we discussed at our committee meeting about the options of different companies, and it sounds like that's pretty much, this
Yeah.
is the best, because they got state contract,
Yep.
and you said, did you say earlier that?
Two people didn't I mean, I had one that didn't
respond
through, the
back.
other
Didn't give you a
vendor
number.
talked to me, didn't respond
Right.
through. There's several schools in the state now that have gone to this. I've got emails from other schools that are using this system and the support. I'm confident the salesperson that, I'm going with Marco, I've known her for 20-plus years. I trust her completely. 99% of things are relationships. And so if you know that you can get support and, you know, make those connections, that's super important.
How long would it take to install?
That's a very good question. I don't know the exact time range of the installation. We'll set it up this summer. It shouldn't take a whole lot because the boxes that they're putting in, they're just little white boxes. We already have the cabling. It's a matter of putting them up, plugging them in, and then probably a lot of the time is the programming on the back end
And training.
of everything, so, yeah.
Did that incorporate training of staff, or
Yeah,
is that
and
gonna
this-
fall on you?
Probably a lot, I mean, which it'll be, a lot of it is similar to what we have now.
Okay.
It's just a touch panel kiosk that's up there. I'm not gonna put it on the wall like it is now, cause the sun is really a problem on that wall, so we're just gonna have a kiosk setting on the reception desk. But to go in and change schedules and change bells and change, different types of days that we have, no school or shortened day or whatever, a lot of that is really very similar to what we have now. So I'm not worried about much of the learning curve side of things.
Any other
I think it
questions?
would take a long time to install for that price, but
Like the actual work here, going, room to room and plugging things in, it's really on the back end and the programming that goes on to make this stuff work and talk to each other on the network. I've been on the phone with the guy that helps me text us, and of course I get him into the barracks and the equipment, but then all of the code that he's writing and all of the scripts that he's running, like, it's pretty amazing. That goes beyond my, so that's probably most of the work, is the actual programming of the equipment. And I really am sorry for not sending this out, because I would not have purposely put myself in this position.
Okay. Any questions of her?
Especially after these conversations, oh God.
Any other questions? Building and Grounds has recommended this to move forward. We would need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to update the audio system.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Cody? Any other discussion? Not, we're gonna spend $166,541.
Lean was the first, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
And
Out
we-
of the building fund.
Correct.
And our teachers will, just to make it, just to kind of put it out there, our teachers will be expected to use this. It's not going to be an option of like, do I get to use my mic or not? No, we're spending this money and you're going to. And not saying that they refuse to use it now, it's frustrating for them now. If it doesn't work,
Right.
it's frustrating.
The ones now, it's like battery plug-in, they
Well,
work,
well,
they
no,
don't
that's-
work.
Yep.
3 years ago, we were in
Obviously.
Mrs. Miller's room, which I think she used it often.
Yeah.
And it became, it never worked, so
It is.
she didn't get to use it as
It's,
much.
it's
so.
one of those things where as soon as Melissa revisited it in our staff meeting, I noticed it in every single room
Right.
that they worked in.
Yeah.
Cause that was the issue, is working
Yeah,
and.
so that'll be our, our administration, our principals that'll, and I don't think they'll have a problem, like I said, it's more so that it's been more.
Not with a system that works, no,
Right, if it works,
Right.
people use.
where it's
Right.
supposed to. Yep.
Any other discussion? Not Lindsay, roll call.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Rob,
yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Okay. Music position recommendation.
And
Oh, can I ask one more question before we're
Yeah.
on the technology? You gave us this sheet in our information with kind of a replacement schedule of all
Yep.
Yeah,
technology
that's my Excel
components.
one.
Yep.
Can we get a cost for those components to go with that?
Eventually.
Just so we can put together a cost of each item per year and then what our total annual budget
But
would
it's
be to
always
keep our
It is
technology.
It always
changing.
changes though. We can predict 6 years from now it's gonna have a different price tag.
Next week.
Or promotions like the
I can
Canadian
share
board.
my full inventory, I put together some pivot tables on
That could not be said,
Excel.
I mean, I sent
I can-
them, but,
could not be used.
I sent them as
I
PDF.
can show them, and I can give you a cost, I can tell you that, we pay approximately $400 per iPad.
But I
Is
mean,
that kind of what you're looking for?
no, not at all.
$800 per computer.
no, what I'd really like to know is like this $166,000 this year, like if we know it's coming for the past 3 years, it's not an ask, it's just, hey, here guys, we gotta do it. And we just approve it and move on, because we
think-
knew it was coming the whole time.
But he's looking at us as we budget ahead, so what is next year's one and the following?
Because we
year?
And
have
that
this-
is
Because we're looking at a
something that
2-year
Aaron's
going
gonna-
out.
Yes, and I know that, and as much as I would love to tell you exactly what, I can tell you what I think, like on
Yeah.
that sheet.
Right.
I can tell you that I think our iPads and our computers should last us 6 years. And then do a rotation after 6 years according to my inventory list. I can tell you that I think switches are gonna last 6 to 7 years. Does that say one of them's not gonna fail?
No.
No, I don't think that's what you're
Um,
asking, though, are you?
No, well, like you've got you've got replacement schedules on here. I mean, just what was the cost to purchase them even?
Oh, okay, so you're not.
Like a
you're-
replacement
I'm-
cost.
Yeah, you're looking at
Oh, to
replacement
get an
cost or
idea.
cost
I'm
of
thinking two different things.
initial
here.
cost, yep.
Right.
I was thinking timeline. Yes, I can give you, well, that's where I come in of, here's how many iPads we have, and here's how many are gonna need to be replaced, they're at $400 a pop.
And if we know every
Is
year you
that-
gotta do 30 at $400 a pop, we got X amount of dollars a year to.
We got a
set the
general
budget for
idea of
iPads.
what to
Yep.
spend.
And if
They
the,
give
But I
budget
think then
for-
the idea is it's a matter of, is it a general fund expense, is it a building fund expense, where's the expense coming from?
and just making sure that we're budgeting enough, because we don't wanna get caught with everything one year and we have to decide what we're not gonna do.
It's
you
tricky
know?
to rotate them because we purchased so much over COVID with the
So-
funds.
No, I agree,
and
'cause
there's
I
a
think
huge massive.
Knowing
deficit
this
in it.
expense that we're just got done looking at, if we would've knew it would've came up, I think we would've
Yeah.
We
applied
probably
some
would have
levies
budgeted, yes.
into our building fund to offset that cost, yes. Yeah, I get what you're saying there.
I think it was not expected. Melissa said that it was full of goo on the panel. It was
Touch
gooey.
It's like
It was goo.
leaking something out of the backside of it.
Yeah, but I can give you somewhat of a ballpark, Eric,
Yeah, that'd be great.
It doesn't need to be.
Right, I can do that, because I can see right now that, right now, the oldest iPad in the hands of students is a 2019. So I would say next summer, and I have that pivot table put together, here are 60 iPads that are going to be needing replacement at $400 a piece next summer. Is that what you're asking me?
Well, no, not really. I think one of the best things that this school has going for it is where we are at with our technology in the building. I mean, we're in a great spot. I don't want that to not be able to continue. So let's say there's a time when you come with 166,000 for bells and PA and 250 for switches the same year. We gotta pick one or the other is gonna be a tough year. So if we know it ahead of time that here's your lifespan and we just start budgeting for it, when they fail, we're ready for them to fail and we've got the money allocated for it.
Well, we're already 2 years into our switches.
Yeah. So, I mean, in 4 years, we're at another potential of, I mean, we gotta value this stuff for what it's worth. I mean, because replacement costs are gonna be huge, and we don't wanna lose where we're at because we didn't budget for it.
And we're gonna try to do, not to say we're gonna get it, but there's another, grant that's coming out for security, so I'm gonna try to put together some grant items to update cameras. If we could get grant money, then I would do that. Of course, if we couldn't get grant money, I would just see our cameras, we use them till they die. They might not have the best quality, they might not have the artificial intelligence built in that the newer cameras have, but
But isn't that an option of what we just, didn't we cover that?
you can put cameras in the classroom, you can.
That is an option
Yeah, it
going down
is,
the
yes,
road anyway.
yes. Yeah,
I would say 10 years too, that this technology could be out to date and we have to look at upgrading it again. So I would say put it on 10 years at least for something like this, you know. It might even be before that.
Just so we're prepared.
Yeah,
yeah, it's really,
because like we weren't,
It's a
I mean, we waited on the gym floors, you know, before, and it was almost too late. We should have been planning that 5 years out from when the school was new.
Yep.
We're just getting behind, we don't want to get behind, like Eric's thinking ahead.
and I do try to look at that stuff so that we keep these bigger, so it's not all coming at once. So if I can keep better in that, I'm open to whatever you guys want. Anytime, if you have questions on like, how many do we have of this, what are you thinking for this equipment? This is our purchase this summer, other than maybe a couple new staff machines, and we do need a video server, which is peanuts compared to this amount. That's it for this year. Then next year, we're gonna have to cycle out some iPads. Our big expenses of the Bell PA, the switches, our wireless was coming to end of life, because they're not gonna provide support after another year, and that grant just happened to be at the right time to swap that out for $30,000. So I'm constantly looking at things and trying to keep it staggered as much as I can.
Okay.
But call anytime you have questions, because I have all of the inventory, all of the data. I can get you whatever you might have questions about.
Okay, thanks. Music position.
Music position, and Cindy was the personnel committee rep that sat in on those interviews. We interviewed 2 people the other day for that position, and from that committee, the recommendation is to continue to work with Haley Winkler as our music teacher, full well knowing that next fall she will student teach, and then when she graduates in December, licensure in December, January, then we will move her over to a teaching contract at that time.
So what will you use up till that time?
What will we use up to that time?
Yeah.
We will use a long-term sub-pay,
Okay.
but the board has to decide what all of that is going to look like, and I have just briefly talked to BCNEA and let them know that I'm coming with them for a document, because I want to run that through them on how, because this is not going to be the last time this is going to happen,
Yep.
on how we're going to pay these people when we hire them as student teaching,
Yep.
fill-in subs, but also what benefits and other things that we're going to offer them, so that they're kosher with it, and then bring it to the board.
Then you would bring that back to us.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
So I'm just looking for the procedure, how you're
Yes.
gonna go.
But the intent is to do long-term sub-pay and look at some benefits, sick days, personal
So
days,
that would
on a
go,
pro.
that long-term sub will go in effect till you have the,
It's just like anybody else.
till the license
Has,
comes.
till I have a license in hand. And then I will sit down with Lindsay and we'll prorate
Prorate
it
it
on the
out.
number of days left. And then kick in all the other benefits that will go with it. Insurance, TFFR, all those other
Under
ones.
their negotiations.
Correct, yes.
Lisa McMillan will be her cooperating teacher and mentor.
Okay. Through that process.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay,
So you need,
the motion to.
but it sounded like you have things that you asked the BCNEA yet for, so is it appropriate to make a motion
So what
right
are we
now?
at?
Yeah, you could
Yes,
make a
we're-
motion
okay.
to
Just making sure that.
hire
Do that.
Haley Winkler as our music
Music
teacher,
We
yes.
just don't know how the finance.
Correct,
Okay, that'll come back.
yes.
Okay, so we need a motion to hire the music position.
I will make a motion to hire, I'm forgetting the name,
Haley
Haley
Winkler.
Winkler as the music teacher.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? If not, when you're ready, roll call.
Cindy,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Rob,
Yeah.
Mike,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes,
Eric,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Okay. Quick update on the middle school.
Unfortunately, I have no recommendation to bring. We interviewed a middle school person the other day, and they took a job at a different school. So we are still looking to fill that position.
Okay, so that will be, continue to be open.
And we did, I mean, about, talking to committee, we were all, felt very good about the possibility, so I think an hour after he left, I called and offered him a contract, and called the next day and said he was gonna take a job at someplace else, so.
Okay.
We move on.
Okay, so then we move to secondary principal interviews and set timeline, and how many are we looking to interview, or that's where we're at right now, that position?
Yeah, so I think you kind of know my thoughts moving forward on that. I think it's important to have people on that interview committee that are actually going to work with that person on a daily basis. I sent out a list of people that I thought would be good representatives on that interview committee, but I also think in some conversation that there's importance with just that social conversation after the interview is completed as well, with staff members that I think you can get probably just as much, if not more, input, and kind of a read on somebody, not through the formal process, but more informal process. So what I would like to do is, and you guys can arm wrestle it over it, or however you want to do it, a couple board members, a teacher, Mrs. Bussey, of course, on that. I'd like to get a student on that committee as well, but I would like to have other people that are going to be involved, and work closely with this one, probably do the tour, but have the post interview meeting with them. And I would like Mrs. Broughton to do that, a teacher to do that, and Mrs. Bitts to do that as well, to sit down and meet with that person after each one and just get a feel, just in a.
You know, just based as what we've talked about?
Yeah.
Okay. So what came out to you, what we're thinking about is having a formal interview committee that would probably involve, say, superintendent, couple board members, elementary principal, a secondary teacher or two, and then students if that's what's necessary. So once that interview would happen, we could have that person then touch base with Lindsay in there, just so they could answer questions that would come up from the financial, the benefits, all that type of thing that she knows about. Then the others would be like, say, Mrs. Bitts, just like he said, some would probably do a tour beforehand, and then one after they had the interview, another group that would just say, hey, have some coffee, whatever. And like Mr. Curry and I talked about, a lot of it you get more of a feel for a fit or whatever in those casual conversations than in the formal interview. So that's kind of what we're throwing out there.
Right. I mean, you've all sat in formal interviews. You're gonna get a lot of cookie cutter answers and decisions
Some
made.
people interview better than others.
Or decisions made in the first 5 minutes, which isn't fair in all instances. So thought this would, and it just gets those people, like I said, those stakeholders who will be involved with this person, whoever it is that's hired, in that decision-making process.
And as, even though they're not in the formal interview thing, we're gonna ask input from Lindsay, from Melissa, as they do they're gonna get a lot of that in that casual conversation. And I think sometimes you get a better fit or feel by some of that. So we will ask for input back from all that to that committee to have a recommendation.
And then, does the board have to approve the hire?
Correct,
So
yes.
this
It's
would
all,
come
the
as a-
recommendation would.
So ultimately, what would happen is, I'm looking at scheduling interviews for next Wednesday, during the day. It's probably starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever, do a couple in the morning, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, whatever it is for that. After those are done, that group of people just gets together and has a conversation about no decision-making unless there's one that really stands out.
Right.
No decision-making, just conversations about the interviews, the informal conversations, whatever else. You go home, you sleep on it, the next morning we get together, and that's when we come up with a consensus of who we're going to bring to the board as a recommendation for hiring for that position, is
So
how it will look.
So from next week to the next school board meeting is quite a timeline.
No.
As I said,
No,
we would go with
we'd have to have a
meeting.
special meeting.
We'd have to have a
Okay,
special
that's what I
meeting.
was
Approve that, yes.
verifying.
We're gonna
that
want a special meeting
Yes.
after that decision is made very
We
soon.
would wanna
yes.
move faster than later.
Correct,
Okay.
because then you're gonna have to
Making
look
sure.
at salary and whatever else with that, yes, as well.
And would these interviews be recorded for the board? Would we be able to see them if we don't attend? Or is this just
No.
strictly going to be off a recommendation from? the
Off of
committee?
recommendation from that group of people, from the 10, 11 people that have contact with that
individual,
person.
That candidate, yeah.
Yep,
Is that a possibility for us to be able to
not one
see
that I
the
would
interviews?
recommend.
No,
Why not?
because that opens us up to liability.
I just think it's just, you're asking for, where does it stop? You want it, who else wants it, and
Can't you
I
just stop
just-
at board members?
nope, I don't think you can,
Not for open meetings if you
No.
include all board members, no.
yeah.
Okay. So then my question would be, Is there a reason why I read through every one of these interview applications that gets sent to me? As a board member, where this is the only information I'm given, then if I'm not on this committee, which I might not be the best one to be on it, because I feel whoever's on it better be at every one.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And if I can't commit to be
And
at
why?
every interview.
Because from the time I started sending them out, Eric, till the time that I kind of decided, nope, this is how I want to go with the interviews, that's why you got them all.
But you might have connections too. which
And you
is
might
always
know
helpful.
someone, you
But
might
okay, so
have a,
is it public record of these applicants right now?
No.
No.
So when can I contact their references?
You?
Yes.
Hey, you contact them at every.
You could have been since the
You
first
could've
day
done
they
it
went to them. You-
Before, at any time, yep.
Well, like with superintendent, we couldn't contact until they were offered an interview because it's not public knowledge of who applies until they're offered an interview. So every one of these people will be getting an interview?
No, that's
No.
what, no.
And I've contacted references for even ones that probably aren't going to get it. I would not recommend to get an interview, but I contacted references.
Cause if I know people from school boards that these people are coming from, I haven't been calling them because I didn't think that was what we should be doing though until they were offered an interview.
I think that leads into the next question is, who's going to decide who we're going to interview?
Who's gonna vet that and what are we looking for in that position?
We don't have a Dakota leadership this time.
Yeah.
to help
I mean,
us.
obviously, I'm going to make that recommendation. Mrs. Bussey is going to make that recommendation. For that, I would look at one or two of the teachers that will be part of that. I would look at maybe Mrs. Bips as part of that. Anybody who's gonna be involved in that process, I think, should make recommendations on who they think should get interviewed.
Or if this group, how many do you want to, I mean,
And then
look at how many you're thinking of interview, you have anybody you don't want in that group to interview?
Well, how many out of the that applied are you planning on interviewing? Roughly, all of them, or two,
No,
or
no.
three?
No,
That's
not all of them.
No, please, we're not.
No, I mean, if everybody came back with one, would we do one? Probably not, but we'd do at least two. I'm looking at 4, max 5, is what I would recommend. In
So that
that.
means you
Well,
got
maybe
one
we
that
had
you're
7.
crossing out for sure then.
I've got, I mean, me personally, I already have a list of mine, me personally. But that's just me. It's not gonna go by just mine. It's
Can we-
going to go by the girls.
Is it appropriate for you to name the last name of every person to make sure that everybody has seen those? Is that a possibility? Has everybody seen all,
Or do you have ones that you think
they've
you're
all
not going to interview?
well, they've gone out,
Well,
but has everybody seen all
Yeah.
of them is the only question I'm asking.
There's
Yeah.
been 7?
7, correct. For that. I
Is
mean,
there somebody you're not, and for what reason, or is there a reason that you're not?
You don't have to say specifically.
wait, could that be done via an email, because we're not gonna say names out loud?
At this point, I don't know
No.
if we can say.
So, I
Right.
mean,
No.
Okay,
no, I wouldn't want to say names, even just out of respect for
Well,
the
so
people that
I
it
guess
is
I'm-
and the places that they currently work.
yeah, I guess
For
I'm
that.
not sure why we're asking the question.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure I saw all of them.
Yeah, I
Okay, so
think
there's
if
seven.
you.
I mean, if you got 7 of them, then
Then
you
you're good.
saw all of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's
but
7
if
of
you,
them.
if you give us your list of 4 or 5, then we can go back through and,
I think Mr. Curry has a good plan that you haven't really shared directly,
To-
like of
To
asking.
me, it's a matter of, I want people to submit their list of people they think we should interview.
To you.
Correct.
Oh, got it.
That's
Got it.
what
Got
I
it.
want.
That's-
I'm like,
we'd
I thought
to
we were
hear
talking
that.
Now I
here, now I'm
clarified.
in.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
was
sorry
like, I'm
about that.
pretty
No,
sure they
I want
have a
people
really
to
good plan.
submit their list to me of people they would interview. And just because it's on the list, by all means, don't think that because they're on everybody's list, we're gonna interview them all. It's obviously gonna come down to so-and-so got X number of I would interview that person, and that's how I'm gonna go till I get to about 4. And depending upon where the gap is between 4 and 5, that may stop right there.
Do you want each board member to give you that, or this group that you're going to work with?
I think the group that's,
I was looking for the group that I'm going to
That's why
work with.
I'm clarifying
Yes.
where we're at here.
I was
Yeah.
looking for the group that I was going to work with,
Which would be 2 board members too, right?
which would be 2 board members as well. So as board members, if you have recommendations, maybe talk to your fellow board members on that. Whoever's
is
going
it-
to be on the committee.
Is it
And who's available?
acceptable for us to call the references that? we
Well,
get
if
from
you've
these
got, I mean, I guess who you talk to, Eric, is who you talk to. I can't tell you yes or no on that. I mean, if you know somebody from wherever, and in conversation, I guess you talk about it, I guess that's your conversation, for that. You know, whether they're, I mean, if they're not.
Well, I'm just
I'll
trying
be-
to
I'll be
clarify, we were
honest.
instructed to not do that
Yeah.
with the superintendent position.
That, because that leadership.
Dakota leadership
they
was hired to
recommended
do that, yes.
But there's no confidentiality on this, that's totally acceptable for us to do that.
Well,
You're calling as a person,
You're
though,
You're
not
call-
as a school board member then.
Yes. I mean, it'd be colleagues or
In-
friends that I know that.
and just to tell you, Eric, I don't always call references, because you don't put somebody on there that's gonna give you a bad recommendation.
100%.
So I do the same thing that you're talking about. I know people, I've been in this business a lot of years and done different stuff. I know people in different places, so most of my calls have went to people that are not references, that I know from that area, or that know that person, or would know something about that person, are the calls I've made, not to references.
Well, that's exactly what I'm getting at, the same thing, where I could call them up and say, what do you think? And it's a yes or, it's usually real quick, where, man, you'd be lucky to have them, or, ooh, watch out. That's all I wanna know.
Well, that's kind of what I've done. So if you're looking for a legal answer, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, the other thing that just keeps getting back in my head is if 2 of these board members are gonna be part of this decision, we got 7 board members that probably didn't have to be here all night. I mean, we just got a 9-member board, it's just huge for 2 people being part of this decision.
This one decision.
This one.
It's one decision.
One decision.
Yeah,
But it's one very important decision.
it's a very important
Right, it's the same thing as-
decision, but that's why we have those other people who are going to work
Right.
with this person on a daily basis.
And that's right, I
Yeah.
mean, they're the right people to be here, but it still doesn't change, we got a whole bunch of people that aren't gonna be part of that and
Yeah.
don't need to be,
Yeah,
myself
but if you look
included.
at
But,
board duties and board roles,
Yeah.
that does not fall under one of those. Just my opinion, my thoughts. Take it however you want to.
wait, I didn't catch that.
How it,
The hiring of a
school
principal,
board duties, hiring of a principal is not one of them.
Correct.
Ultimately, you will
Well, that-
approve
that's-
it, but
that's fine,
Yes.
because I was sitting there all day going, why am I not working, and why am I reading all these applications if I am not gonna have any say in this? Like, I would quit right now and go to work
Yeah.
if I knew for a fact that I wouldn't be called on to give any input.
And my intent at the beginning was probably from the prior conversation at a special meeting, was to go down that road. But in my thoughts from that time, I changed my thinking, why are people who are not gonna deal with this person and work with this person, once again, on a daily basis, not involved in this process?
But it's very important to have the school board representative there because we will hear about it
And for
later,
you
so as
to
part of
share
it.
your
Yes.
thoughts with
No
them.
different than
It's like
asking
having
somebody
a
to be
teacher
on,
leadership
Exactly.
sit in
committee.
interviews,
Yeah.
which,
Exactly.
Tyler and Cindy have done it with that too.
Where he was coming from was the last special meeting, it was like, it sounded like everybody,
Yes.
and Mrs. Bussey reflected back that when she was interviewed, all the
Yeah.
board was here.
Everyone,
Yeah.
except,
And I know that was probably past practice, but I don't think it's the right way to go.
I was surprised that the other principal wasn't in on mine, honestly. At that
Okay, so
time.
have we established what's happening? Because I feel like we're kind of right now, but we're talking in circles.
But we're talking about having that group from
Yep.
superintendent, principal, And
Couple teachers,
couple
teachers,
couple board
couple
members.
students.
I mean, obviously, the students will not make recommendations on the
Right.
people we're going to, but they will sit in on an interview
Right.
and maybe sit in on the post one as
We
well.
want to
But
see the interaction.
the adult,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what we're looking for here is, Mr. Curry's gonna come with the recommendation, or that group is gonna come with who we're gonna interview. We need to decide who our board
Yeah,
representatives
basically,
are, is basically what we're suggesting.
Are you okay with what I'm proposing?
What we're
Yes.
proposing.
That's what
Yes.
I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I guess we should see
Your
one
job.
month ago,
Your job
before I
to
spend all the time reading through this stuff.
But it's, you should
No.
have read through
Yes.
it, in my opinion.
Okay, back to what we're at, deciding. I'm keeping us on task. Let's go. We know what yes, I like, because you are in charge of hiring the principals. That is your job.
So who's the board
It's not
So
representative?
who are the board representatives to be on the interview committee? And it'd be next Wednesday.
Wednesday, starting at 10 o'clock.
I would like to withdraw myself from being one of those, because I don't think I would be able to.
I thought you were going to volunteer.
I did too.
I was like,
He's all on the personnel committee.
What's that?
He's all on the personnel committee.
Keep this in mind though, as soon as you
Yeah,
get
that's
You wanna do that or
two
not?
people from that committee that you have to post.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, so I would prefer not to have two people from that
I
committee.
may not be able to commit.
I'm the
that
same
time
way.
anyway.
I might not be able to do it either.
Do you have to have a board member?
Yeah, I can.
We don't, but we would like to have some board.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna have
I'm
to
a
have,
stay-at-home mom. I can do it. I will just have to have someone feed my
That's like
babies.
the hardest job ever.
I'll have to have someone feed my calves because I borrow calves, but I'm available, I will say that.
Are you on the first one, Patty?
No.
I am.
Me and.
Oh, three of you are.
Cindy.
So I could.
You take one of my calves, share 'em. Can we bring them here? Can the kids take them?
We're off tangent,
Well,
Michelle, you just said stay on.
I
so.
know.
So you have two.
I'm okay with that.
everybody okay with the two board members to be Cindy and Michelle?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Do you
Let's go.
still want input from others emailed to you on what our
Or
thoughts
you want
were
us to
from
Talk
the
to us.
Or
We're gonna
them?
talk to
Talk
them.
to us.
talk to them.
Got it.
Yep.
So
Got
we
it.
should tell them who we think should
Yes.
apply.
Yeah.
Got it.
Do you have some thoughts?
And
Yep,
then
if you're-
Cindy and I can contact references or other people that we know in that area.
No.
No.
Leave that.
No, leave that
It's you
to
totally.
me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
totally too, okay.
At least until we narrow it down to who we're going to interview.
Okay, come up with that.
Yes, and
Yep.
then that would open up the windows a little bit more.
Got it.
Okay. So, unpaid leave requests. Dear Barnes County North School Board, due to my insufficient sick leave and personal leave, I would like to take 10 days unpaid to complete my 12 weeks of maternity leave. Thank you, Sarah Anderson. So that's the request, is for 10 days. Thank you, Sarah Anderson.
Motion to approve the unpaid leave request as read.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Michelle. Roll call.
Michelle,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Lee.
We have a resignation or retirement. Do we have to vote on for this one or not?
Not necessarily, no,
I didn't
because
think
it's a
so.
classified position.
Right, so I'll
Yep.
just read it. To BCN School Board, it's their resignation retirement. Please accept this letter as a formal notification of my resignation from my position as administrative assistant at Barnes County North. Plan is to be done by the end of June. I've decided it's time for me to retire. I'm committed to ensuring a smooth transition and will be available to assist in any way possible during the handover process. Thank you for everything. Sincerely, Joanne Jorston. She will be retiring at the end of the year.
No, I think it's just important to reflect in the minutes, you know, thank you for years of service.
Did it say how many years on that one?
Next, we have the sale of bus.
Okay, so conversation Tuesday after a meeting with Valley City. They would like to purchase one of our buses. They want no part of the other bus. They're more than willing to give it back to us, or bring it back here. They had to put in close to $10,000 on this one, but they're looking to purchase it, or would purchase it for $7,000, if the board is okay with that.
How many buses?
Two,
Well, they're only gonna buy.
they're only gonna buy one,
Buy the one for $7.
yeah, and then when they
They're
bring.
worth 3, one never even went down.
One didn't, but since that other one was such a dud, when they bring that one back, they're gonna actually look at another one of ours that we were hoping they would take in the first place.
And the, like we discussed before, their inspections and their transportation is all on them
Correct.
financially, right?
Yes,
We're not-
so like I said, that 10,000, they have to put in this one that they're gonna purchase, that's their money.
And they're paying to have them towed back and forth.
They've been driving, I mean, they run,
Okay,
they had trouble getting the one there, but they did limp it there, I guess.
okay.
But, and they will bring it back as well, yeah.
So we need a motion to approve the sale of one bus for $7,000.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Is there a reason for that bus to come back,
The other one,
the one they don't want?
I don't know what else we would do with it in Valley, I don't know if there's a place to bring it, or, here, what we'd probably do with it, Eric, is auction it off, or bid it off. We'll get $500 for it maybe, or something like that, that would be the purpose to bring it back. And I don't know if the rubber's on it any good, to maybe pull that, or look at that, but we're not,
Whether it
If we
goes,
brought it back and they look at the other one, we still need to hold one in case we get the grants.
correct, yes, but we still have two in the
Or you
graveyard.
got one more out there?
Yeah,
I just know the giant pile of dead buses is the most attractive.
no, it's
no,
not.
there's been a lot of complaints over that.
Yeah, and that's why I think, I know we talked about it last year as far as an auction or a bidding on it, and I think we need to look at doing that with our fleet this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever they don't get, let's just get rid of them,
Let-
whatever it is.
yeah.
Okay, tuition agreement.
Maybe a roll
Oh, we're gonna roll call on the sale of the bus.
call. Cindy?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Jennifer? Yes. Lee?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes. Okay, tuition agreement.
So it's a tuition agreement and some open enrollments all for the same family, so I think we just remote.
The open enrollment is past the due date, so the open enrollment doesn't even fit for, because it's after March, so no, we can't do anything with the open
Just the
enrollment,
tuition agreement.
so we just have to do the tuition agreement.
Already here. Moved. Yep, there, they moved to Valley City.
We need a motion to approve tuition agreement.
They moved from here so they would know.
No, they're coming here, they're staying here.
They're staying
They
here.
just
Our students,
moved,
they moved to
yeah, to a house, yeah.
Would the open enrollment count for next year if it was approved?
No,
No, it has to be done.
well,
Has to be,
By the
We'll do it,
timetable, we'll
yeah.
have to get one.
we'll do it next year, yeah.
So you have a motion, right? Did somebody?
No.
Motion to approve the tuition agreement.
I'll second.
Second by Ron. Roll call.
Michelle?
yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay. For our miscellaneous stuff, family connection.
Only thing is, we just had the sweetheart dance on Sunday, and there was a good turnout. I do not have the exact numbers though, so I'll get that next month.
Career Tech, couple of quick things, basically funding, we talked about the difference of funding. Next year, they approved just a % increase over the, what we, programs we had, but we actually go backwards because we didn't offer ag and IT, so we will have less money deducted from the program.